Sit back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device.
Say hello, gentlemen.
You talking to us?
One of you can say hi.
Hi, everybody.
There you go.
I'm putting a hat over my headphones.
There you go.
Because I think it
Not
looks
under
good.
the headphones, over the headphones.
Oh, that is a good
It's a good look for you. I like that.
I'm going to go kill some animals now.
It's like one of those big hunting hats with the flap.
Yeah, you look like an old DJ in in Anchorage.
All right, everybody, welcome out to the Get On With It Sports Show. It is Wednesday, January the 5th, 2022, first show of the new year. Happy New Year, folks. Jersey Johnny coming at you. With me, as always, is none other than Mr. RadioPete and Mr. Harry Lug Nutz. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
If
We need to come up with a better something there different than hello, gentlemen, for the new year.
Well, it's the old Rowan and Martin joke.
I know. That's what I'm saying. We got to find something else old. The Smothers Brothers must have had something.
Yeah, we'll have to dig that out for next week.
Well, didn't Groucho do something like that?
Well, it was Goodnight Gracie, I think, right?
Good. Yeah, we could just say goodnight, Gracie.
Say hello, Harry. Hello, Harry.
Hello, Harry. There you go.
We
do that.
I realize the history of it.
There you go. How was New Year's for both of you?
I was in bed at 10 o'clock.
You were in bed at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
There was a meme out. I meant to send it to both of you, but I didn't. It was out, like somebody posted it around like 6 o'clock, and it said the calendar is ridiculous. It said Australia is in 2022, New York is in 2021, and Cowboys fans are in 1996. So.
Well, yeah.
Who won the Super Bowl that year?
Exactly.
So cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with that. 96
Cowboys
year.
fan is frustrating, but it's certainly better than being the fan of the Giants or the Jets.
This is true. Because at least they're
putting a football.
there.
At least they're putting a football team on the field
every year. Yeah.
Yeah. But yes, that's very clever.
I didn't make the meme.
I know you didn't.
But it was humorous. So.
It was humorous.
It was a
Happy New Year, I think.
Yes, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to both of you.
Doesn't feel any different other than Antonio Brown.
Very similar. Very similar.
Has shed his clothing and become.
Somebody put up another. I wish I had the meme too. I'd throw it up. It was. What the hell's the show? Oh crap! Where they make it?
Give me a Webster.
No. Where they
HR?
Where the one guy tells the other guy
they tell the guy what to do and he
Land
does
of
it.
the Lost.
No.
Jackass.
It wasn't. It's like Jackass. It's it's the newer version of Jackass.
The Cyrano de Bergerac kind of thing. Yeah.
So they're right now. Take off your clothes and quit.
Yes.
Right. Yes. And they're all laughing. So.
I mean, how bad do you have to be for O.J. Simpson to get pissed at you?
Right. Exactly. So that.
I think O.J. He always taught him, don't ever let them see where you put your gloves.
Exactly.
Don't ever let them see you taking the gloves off.
He was pissed off that he took the gloves off. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think the crowd into the public.
The best thing I saw was the replay of the Seinfeld scene where it's the day after George quits his job and runs out in a huff. And it's this conversation between him and Jerry's going, just go back.
Pretend like it didn't happen.
Yeah, pretend like it didn't happen. You're an emotional guy. I'm an emotional guy,
Larry David actually talked about that, and that he did that in real life. That was based on his own personal experience. Yeah,
and it was perfectly prescient because it absolutely. You could just imagine that was Antonio Brown talking to whoever.
That was
just
good.
go back. Just go back like nothing happened. Like nothing happened. It never happened. It never happened.
It's so ridiculous, even for Antonio Brown. Obviously, I hope that he is okay,
right.
And I hope that he is able to at least talk with somebody to deal with whatever it is that he's dealing with. Mm-hmm. If he is of a sane, sound mind, then that's just narcissism at its extreme.
Right.
Well,
Well, there was somebody did put up. There were a couple people. I don't want to say they were backing him up or understanding, but what they did put up the fact that a lot of his antics, or I should say most, if not all of his antics, came after Burfict hit him that illegal hit, knocked him out in that playoff game back in 2015 or whatever it was.
Never been the same since.
And he's just been a nut since. So, I mean, if that's foreshadowing anything to, it sucks, but I mean, I guess anything's possible, right? So.
Well, and, the other thing is, I mean, we've obviously, I think we're all hoping there's nothing mentally wrong with him, or
Right.
I mean, clinically or diagnosably mentally wrong, or at least
Right.
not seriously so. But I mean, has he had a history of therapy? Is there any reason to think that anything other than he's just a dick?
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, it's look.
There's a history. There's a history of that's documented.
Right,
There's a
that's what
documented history of him being a dick. Yes.
In other words, we're all hoping he's not mentally ill in the
Right.
sense that we don't want him to go on a killing spree or anything
something
like
happened
that, right? We
on that. Something happened on that hit and
I
caused
hope
whatever.
he gets
Right,
the help
exactly.
he needs. Well, what if he doesn't need any help? What if he's just a fucking asshole?
What if he is just really an asshole? Right. Yeah.
No, I'm not obviously qualified to determine that, and a medical professional might be. But
Right.
if he's not gonna, and again, I don't know if he's done anything like that or whatever. But
Right.
maybe he's just a jerk.
Maybe. And I mean, I think. Look, I think most of his antics have been behavioral, right?
Sure.
He has, to the best of my knowledge, he's never been charged with
Right, that's
criminal.
what I mean. He hasn't broken into anybody's house or stolen anything or crashed somebody's car.
So he'll probably become a Fox News commentator in a couple of years.
Well, ironically, we did take a poll, and
put him on with.
First of all,
Michael Vick. Yeah.
This was a good one. Every day is a half day when you just fucking leave. That's the best part, right? But we did
put him on an opposite Skip.
Right.
Let the two of them go at it.
Or put him on with Skip. There you go.
Yeah, and Michael Vick.
And Michael Vick.
Throw
exactly.
Ray Lewis in there, and
right.
The other Baltimore Ravens that have not surfaced yet from their parole officers.
Right. Well, we did take a poll before the show about where will Antonio Brown end up next. And there were 6 possibilities. And
Breitbart News.
We'll start with one. We'll start with Kansas City Chiefs. The odds are 1,000 to 1.
1,000 to 1.
1,000 to 1. Okay.
Is that DraftKings? Is that already on there?
This is not DraftKings. This is straight from DraftKings. Right?
Nice.
Odds are 1,000 to 1. Kansas City Chiefs. Los Angeles Rams. Odds are 25 to 1. Little better odds.
Now, is that this year or
this year?
Sometime in the future?
Oh, no. Well,
okay.
soon, whenever that is.
Because I might take that one. I might take 25 to 1.
Yeah.
There you go.
Rams.
Cowboys 10 to 1. So there's that one. That was coming. Then there's the XFL. Odds are 5 to 1.
Does that even exist?
It's coming back. It's Dwayne The Rock Johnson, I think, bought it with a few people. So then
how's he going to run it if he becomes president?
I don't know.
He's going to have to give up his controlling
He's going to have to give something. Right,
whoa. Put a bookmark in that because I haven't heard that ridiculousness.
Oh yeah, The Rock might run.
Exactly.
He could sell it to Isaiah Thomas. He could run a different sports league.
There you go. Exactly right. Then there's Las Vegas, not the Raiders, just in Las Vegas.
Okay,
he's going to wind up in Las Vegas. The odds are 3 to 1 there. Okay, and then Dancing with the Stars is even money.
Well, he's already been on Dancing with the Stars, right? Hasn't he? No,
I don't think so.
I mean, can you imagine him just?
He ran through half naked. He wasn't actually.
He wasn't actually
in the show.
Cast on the show.
No.
He's just a friend of his was there. He was there to support.
He's going to make it to the quarterfinals, and then have his balls hanging out of it.
Exactly.
And then the flamenco will become a striptease.
That's right.
And
he's going to start teabagging his partner and run off through the crowd.
That's not the dance that they want on Dancing with the Stars. It's a dance of sorts. But not necessarily the one they want.
Maybe he can borrow the John Bon Jovi flying teabag apparatus from the 80s. Remember when he used to strap himself in that and teabag 16-year-old girls in the audience?
Yeah. was the highlight of the show.
Fortunately, I was not at those shows. So
neither was I. Because
remember when
I wear glasses and it's tough.
Right, I got you.
Remember when Bruno
Plus I have taste in music.
Right.
Bruno planted himself in Eminem's face. Remember that?
Yes.
Whatever award ceremony that was or something.
Yeah,
so there's some precedent there.
That would be great if he actually wound up on the next Sacha Baron Cohen film.
That's a possibility as well.
Actually, that'd be great if Sacha Baron Cohen plays Antonio Brown in
the
Run
remake
AB
of this season.
Run
AB Run. There you go.
It was one of the best routes he's run that game. That was, he took a nice cut at the end zone.
He was wide open in the end zone.
He was wide open. Yeah, and he did take off. He did accelerate.
Part of me was like, well, just run into that tunnel and then just go to the Giants locker room.
Right. There you go. What's the difference? The Giants can sign 97 wide receivers. They don't have anybody to throw the ball to them. So what the hell's the difference?
Well, they're all out. They obviously need 98.
There you go. So Dave Scardino just commented he thought he was going to Bergen Pines next. He said.
Yeah.
Well, he went to the Nets game, right?
He did go to the Nets game. He got in an Uber. He waited for an Uber. We saw those pictures. We actually, I don't know if you saw the video from the Uber, but the guy that picked him up, apparently he's a personal driver for a lot of stars, sports stars, to be exact. And he picked him up and actually put a video on Instagram of AB in the back seat. And then I guess he took him to the Nets game. So,
well, I mean, I'm surprised the Nets weren't on the list of odds because I probably would have them higher than the Cowboys for signing Antonio Brown.
At this point, yeah, you're right.
It would sort of make Kyrie and James Harden seem, maybe he could play point guard for the home games.
That's possible.
Well, listen, if he joins the team, then talk about Kyrie stops.
Right. Well, pretty much, yeah.
Because there's something much better to talk about.
Much better news fodder to discuss than Kyrie.
But yeah, he could play the home games, and Kyrie could play the away games.
There you go. Well, since we've been talking about football, there's one or two things I wanted to bring up in baseball. We can save them till later. We'll bring them up later.
I have one, but it's probably you have one, the same one also. But I couldn't find two things in baseball to talk about.
The only thing worth talking about this whole week is Antonio Brown.
I think we should just talk about Antonio Brown for the next 2.5 hours.
I think it's worth it.
Well, what the hell? Well, we'll bring it up now. Let's knock out baseball and then we'll get back to football. There we go. What's yours, Pete? Bring it up because it's the same as mine. So.
The Mets are considering hiring Joey Cora to coach third base.
Joey Cora, yep. Joey Cora.
Because he's too good for Pittsburgh.
Is this the most any media has ever talked about third base coaches this year? I mean,
pretty much. Well, it's a slow baseball news week.
The Yankees third base coach didn't blow that call in the Was it the wild card game? We wouldn't be. Third base coaches.
Well, who's the Yankees third base coach now?
It's ex guy from the Mets.
Right, exactly. So Luis Rojas. Joey Cora. Well, he comes highly touted, right? I mean,
I could be a third base coach.
Terry Collins was singing his praises.
I want to be a third base coach. I'll do it for half.
I've coached third base before. It's a very, very vex duty. I swear.
Highly touted third base coach.
Highly touted third base coach.
Come on, now those are four words that don't belong together.
I could do it. I could do it for the Yankees because there's only three guys you wave on when they're at first base. There's only three guys from the Yankees you wave on when they're coming from first base.
I was thinking about highly touted Joey Cora doesn't really necessarily belong together.
Well,
either,
I mean,
certainly highly touted third base coach.
Exactly.
Never be a sentence.
Do you really need a third base coach? Can't the guy who's next to the on deck guy just coach third base?
Pretty much.
That's how we used to do it, right?
Somebody hanging off the top rail of the dugout.
Well, third base. Whenever you're coaching, when I was coaching, the kids or whatever, whoever was basically the manager, whoever's doing the book was the third base coaching the kids. Yeah, was third base coach, right? You're doing the book, doing the lineup, dealing with
waving them
home. Come on, and then you're coaching third base basically. So. Anyway,
half the time they don't listen anyway, and the pros don't listen anyway. All you really got to do is stand there and go, "Eh."
Right.
And then let them do what they
want. I put one
do.
hand up like this and the other one like this.
Yeah. So stop and go. Come on, stop and go. Hurry up.
It's up to you. I don't want to tell you what to do.
There you go. Two other things really quick. Max Scherzer was weighed in on one of the issues with Major League Baseball teams tanking. He said too many teams have gone into a season without any intent to win. And that's one of the things that they're dealing with in the
and many of the other teams that Max Scherzer belongs to wait until the trade deadline to decide to win.
This is true too. So there you go. Hopefully that's not the case this year, but we'll see how that pans out.
Well, maybe he wants to donate some of his salary to some of those
teams. Yeah,
teams.
He does have a higher salary than than like 4 or 5 teams.
He's got a higher salary than the entire state of Wyoming.
This is true too. So yeah. One Yankees note too. There's a call out there.
I'll be right back. Hang on.
Oh, okay.
Keep talking because it's Yankees. Oh, I'll do this now. Hold on.
As well, right?
When it's time to pee and it's Yankees time.
There you go. Whatchamacallit? There's a call out there for the Yankees to go all in on signing Freddie Freeman once free agency resumes. What do you think about that, Harry?
Last time I checked, Freddie Freeman does not pitch. Now, that does not mean that he would not be better than the number 3, 4, and 5 starters in the Yankees rotation.
Very true. Right.
I don't love it. It's nothing against Freddie Freeman. We don't need Freddie Freeman. You put DJ LeMahieu at first base. You stick with Gleyber Torres at second. You go out and get yourself a shortstop. And you have Gio Urshela. We need pitching.
I think
we don't need a first baseman. We need a shortstop.
I think you should call Cashman tomorrow.
And we need a center fielder. We already have
you got Hicks, right?
First baseman.
Don't you have Hicks?
Well, Hicks is already good. I mean, who knows what Aaron Hicks is going to do? Is he going to be back? Is he going to hit?
Well, supposedly he's going to be back.
Is he going to be the Aaron Hicks of 2017, or is he going to be the Aaron Hicks who sporadically played the last 3 years?
I suppose that's true.
I don't know.
Right.
Look, if the Yankees go out and get Freddie Freeman, then it tells me one thing, that they're not going to waste money on Anthony Rizzo. And again, if they didn't have Luke Voit sitting there, if you can get something for Luke Voit, I'd rather them go get Chapman from the A's. Because there's at least he's a little younger and he's not going to require as much money
as Freddie Freeman
in a free agency. It could be a trade scenario.
Right.
And can't you picture Luke Voit going to Oakland and having a career year?
Well, he would, though. He absolutely would. Yeah.
I don't know why the Yankees are so down on Voit. Again, it's
not necessarily the Yankees that want Freddie Freeman. It's just a call out there amongst pundits and stuff like that.
Yeah, because the Cubs haven't. I mean,
it's probably because it's just a slow baseball, month, and they're trying to come up with something.
The Yankees fans are anybody that they know who they are. They're like, yeah, come and do that. I mean,
I got you.
It's nothing against Freddie Freeman. Would I be again though? He's not exactly the same as an all or nothing kind of hitter. He's a great baseball mind. He's a excellent defensive first baseman. Would I be upset if the Yankees got Freddie Freeman? No, but the amount of money they're going to have to pay him at the age that he is potentially going to preclude that. The Yankees need to go out and do what the Yankees have always been able to do, and that is to get free agents to want to come to the Yankees and to make trades that bring people into New York.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me put it to you like this. If they actually, as you alluded to maybe a couple of shows ago, with the possibility of maybe the Yankees not having as much money as they used to have in the past for payroll. Right. If they were able to, if that weren't the case, and they were able to go out there and sign a couple arms and get a couple of pitchers in the rotation that, would be serviceable with Garrett Cole and the other guys that, are worth it anyway. And still go out and get a Freddie Freeman and go out and get their shortstop. Would you be happy with Freddie Freeman at that point?
Well, yeah, but does that seem realistic? I don't know. Look. There's an old
at this point in time. It doesn't. No, not at all.
There's an old Sports Illustrated cover with George Steinbrenner and Andy Pettit and Roger Clemens and El Duque and two other pitchers who are escaping my mind right now. And the title
Pete was one of them. Right?
Pete was one of them. You can never have enough pitching. George Steinbrenner in the middle of all of this. Mm-hmm. Well, listen to your father. From the grave, you can never have enough pitching, and it's not even that the Yankees. I don't even know if the Yankees have an ace anymore.
Well, I mean, Cole's supposed to be the ace, right?
has his performance at post Spider Tack has that inspired you to put him on the level of a top 5 pitcher?
Let me ask you this: Is Garrett Cole now the 3rd best pitcher in New York?
Well, maybe, or 2A or 2B. It depends. I mean, I think he's got to prove himself. But the one thing, when Cole always performs better when he has another ace ahead of him or neck adjacent to him.
Right.
You could argue that maybe he was the number 1 pitcher in Houston when he had his best year. But he also had some pretty big name guys either pitching ahead of him or directly behind him.
Fair enough.
That helps him quite a bit. And so the Max Scherzer going to the Mets, that in years past, that would have been Max Scherzer going to the Yankees.
Right.
That's the difference.
I hear you. All right. Now that Pete's back, why don't we move to football? How's that sound?
Sure.
Unless Pete has anything to weigh in on the Freddie Freeman question.
What was the Freddie Freeman question?
There's a call out there for the Yankees to call in on signing Freddie Freeman once free agency resumes.
Well, listen, it'd be nice. They could put LeMahieu back at second where they wanted him.
And then where do you
it would be a wonderful thing for the Mets too, because Freddie Freeman would no longer be on the Braves.
Right, and then where do you put Torres? And then where do you put Voit and Rizzo?
Exactly. On the
my
bench,
team.
obviously.
Not my team.
I mean, I think the big question is on the Yankees. The first baseman question is going to be interesting because if they don't get, a top level, then they're going to re-sign Rizzo.
Right.
And
well,
and then you'll get what you get. Yeah.
We will continue to see how this plays out over the next couple of months because I don't think we're anywhere close to resolving the lockout yet.
I could do without Freddie Freeman talk.
The only thing I'll say about Cole is, I don't know all of his history, but has he had one of those Madison Bumgarner, Kurt Schilling, one of those guys who put the team on his back and pitched on 3 days rest and then pitched another 2 innings the next day or any?
No, that's what I was just saying is that he did it. That he's obviously done it in pressure situations and has had really good postseasons, but he had other people. I mean, that Houston starting pitching rotation was pretty impressive.
Right.
And so
he really hasn't had to be that guy who does.
Right now, not only is he the ace of the Yankees staff, he's really the only solid starter. They didn't keep Tanaka, which was a mistake. They tried to get him back, and he doesn't want to come back.
Right.
We don't know what's up with Luis Severino. Corey Kluber is now gone. That was
Severino should be back in form this year.
Severino should be back, but you don't know what you're going to get with him. Again, Luis Severino was on track to be a top 20 pitcher in Major League Baseball. Mm-hmm. You just don't know where he's going to be. So there's a lot of question marks with the Yankees right now. And the Yankees don't have there's always this talk of the prospects. Well, they're not bringing up any of the prospects. The biggest prospect who came up last year, who got everybody in the Bronx excited, they got rid of. They got rid of Clint Frazier. Okay. Velasquez is gone. So
right.
there's your potential fill in at shortstop gone.
Mm-hmm.
They're confused. They don't know what they're doing. They have one foot out the door and 1 foot in the door, and they need to wipe more of the blackboard clean than they are.
Yeah.
And it needs to start with pitching, because if you have good pitching, then you could put Luke Voit at second base for all I give a shit, and we'll be okay.
Maybe they should try Luke Voit at pitching. Yeah, see what he's got. What the hell?
One thought that's crossed my mind is, can he catch? Because that's a whole other topic.
Well, I mean, that's why you try him pitching.
Join me on my weekly podcast of why the F is Gary Sanchez still a Yankee.
There you go. That is a weekly podcast. It's
that's
a daily
something
podcast
to talk about all year long.
Exactly. So we'll have a lot more of that during this hot stove season. So anyway, all right, let's bring it to football. Only 24 minutes in, not bad. All right, let's bring it to football.
If I hadn't opened my mouth, it would have been
21 minutes in. No, what was that, John? No. Anyway. All right. We'll start out with the quiz like we've been doing.
All righty.
A little quiz action for you. We've been doing tight ends. Last week was 1980 to 2000. This week's tight ends, 2000 to 2020.
Wow.
Or current, if you want to call it that.
Not 21.
No, not 21. It's tight ends for the last 20 years.
Kyle Pitts. You know?
There you go. Well, yeah, you could throw that in there. But anyway, so tight ends, 2000 to 2020.
All right.
I'm giving you 6. You got to keep 4. 2 got to go. So write them down. Write them down. Here you go. Ready? Antonio Gates. Jason Witten. Rob Gronkowski. Jimmy Graham. Travis Kelce. And Greg Olsen. Okay. Once again, Antonio Gates, Jason Witten, Rob Gronkowski, Jimmy Graham, Travis Kelce, and Greg Olsen.
This is easy, but I want to see who Pete has a beef against. He's probably going to leave off Gronk because he played for the Patriots.
This is easy. Who's gone is the question.
Yeah.
Who you keeping? You could say who's either way. It doesn't matter. Same thing.
With Pete, it's usually more like, who am I fucking getting rid of?
who do I dislike right now?
All right, yeah.
I'm getting rid of Graham and Olsen.
There you go. Done. End of discussion. It's a no-brainer. This one's easy.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. You're getting.
I mean, with Gates, Gronk, and I'll put Kelce there with an asterisk. You might have 2 of the top 5 tight ends of all time, and Jason Witten's probably the most underrated tight end of all time. Graham was really good, but he didn't do it as long as those other guys did it.
Right.
And Olsen, again, a great tight end. No slight to Greg Olsen, and a pretty good announcer, actually.
Yeah.
But he just didn't have the overall impact of those other guys.
Gotcha. Fair enough. Obviously, we did leave for Tony Gonzalez because he did make the list last week. So, no, we're not going to repeat him. And just for shits and giggles, I was going to put Jason Jeremy
Jason Sehorn.
Jason Sehorn. No, Jeremy Shockey in there.
Jeremy Shockey. Again, Shockey was a guy who he was never reached the heights. Well, I don't know. I mean, he early those first couple seasons, Jeremy Shockey was great.
Yeah, he was kind of
the best tight end the Giants have had in a long time. He just didn't last very long.
Yeah, he didn't. You're right. But he did. And who was the tight end? Who was the starting tight end, if you will, that he replaced on the Giants when he got drafted?
Zeke Mowat.
Yeah.
No. Was that right? That was
he replaced what's his name? Who was the Giants tight end?
Mark Bavaro.
He was tight end for about 3 seasons, and then they drafted Jeremy Shockey, and he lasted another year, and then he got traded. I think he went to Miami at that point. After that, that would be Mr. Coach of the Lions, Dan Campbell.
There you go.
Would not have gotten that.
There you go. Anyway,
Mark Bavaro and Zeke Mowat. Those are the 2 Giants.
Those are the 2 Giants tight ends you're aware of. There you go.
Zeke Mowat.
Zeke Mowat. You got to love it. There you go. All right. Into the NFL. We should go. All right, I got a laundry list here of things. So let's start.
Let's start with the Giants because
we'll do that.
Let's keep it short.
Yeah, we'll keep it short. Okay. The Giants
suck.
On
to the Jets.
That's all we really need to say. Now, a couple things. We don't have to have over lengthy discussions about this, but I do want to get some things out there. First of all, a high point because there's many low points. Saquon actually rushed for over 100 yards on Sunday.
Yeah.
Of course, there wasn't much more in the game than that, but
and the offensive line did not look bad.
No.
And I sent you a couple stats on Andrew Thomas. You got to admit,
Thomas has been finally coming around to,
especially in pass blocking.
Yeah, pass blocking has been great.
He's only one of 5 guys on the line.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, if he could somehow figure out how to play all 5 positions.
Yeah, Saquon had a mediocre game.
He had a mediocre game. 102 yards. 102 yards rushing.
Something you would expect from a guy who was a
how many carries he had?
Round draft pick. 12, I think.
17.
Right? 17.
No,
that's not bad.
No, he had a
pretty good day.
He had his first 100-yard game of the season.
He made it by 2 yards.
And he made it by 2 yards, exactly. So, but conversely, Mike Glennon,
is this his first 100-yard game of the decade?
Possibly. Yeah, because he didn't have 100 yards in the first game last year. In the second game, he tore his ACL. So, yeah, you're right.
You know who Saquon Barkley is thankful for every damn day he plays?
That would be who?
Daniel Jones.
Well, there you go. In any event, then there's Mike Glennon. Mike Glennon, who I'm sorry should never, ever, ever again play the position of quarterback.
Well, why is he in there and not Fromm?
I cannot begin to fathom as to what Joe Judge's reasoning for starting week after week.
Well, he said he was going to start Fromm, and then Glennon.
Well, he got them both ready. He said he might go back and forth. He might start one, but the other.
Said Fromm. Does he not know the difference between them?
I don't think he does. Mike Glennon. Mike Glennon was had a grand total of 24 yards. The net passing yards for the game
minus 10, right?
Minus 10. That is an NFL record, folks.
How does that happen?
Interceptions
or catches for
losses and everything else. Yeah. Net passing yards was minus 10.
I didn't know that interception returns.
I'm not sure exactly what the data is.
I don't think that counts as on your net passing yard.
Well,
no, it can. It can.
Well, I was being a little facetious when it came to like fantasy football. I was kind of going.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's my question. Like, how do you end up with minus 10? You throw the ball forward for 24 yards, and then do sacks count?
No.
Like, how do you throw for minus 34 yards?
Receptions for losses, or I don't know what the
losses.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what. I mean, he had 24 yards of completions, and then there were minus 10.
I think there were 34 yards of backwards.
He's so bad and goofy looking that there's a little rule in there that for every pass attempt he makes, there's minus 1 yard.
Right, exactly. So he threw it 34 times, so there you go. But in any event, the team, as a team, minus 10 yards. It's an NFL record. Before that was the Titans were minus 8 yards. I think it was an 08 or 09. But minus 10 yards as a team.
The Titans were minus 8, but still won 24-6.
Yeah, something like that, right? But Glennon actually had where am I? His passer rating was 5.3. 5.3, not 50.3, which still sucks. 5.3,
right?
5.3, like an average passer rating's 80, 60 or 70 somewhere.
All right,
there.
So let's run down the potential reasons why he's playing.
All right. Well, he's not anymore.
I could tell you the reason why he's playing.
Okay. Why was he starting this past week?
Because he's a sacrificial dummy back there for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to protect Jake Fromm?
I think so. I think they saw the potential of him getting his shillelagh whacked, much like Daniel Jones a little bit. Jones at least has a quicker response time. Fromm hasn't played enough. I think that was really part of it. And I just think there's nothing to win. So
well, that's true. But I mean, is that because you're protecting Fromm as your backup? We want to make sure our backup doesn't get hurt.
Well, I mean, he wasn't.
I mean, how do you know if you want him to be your backup if you don't get to see him play? I think you're probably.
I can.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
It's probably correct. Yeah.
Joe Judge is his press conferences are the most revealing insight into him.
Oh, they were talking about on the radio today about how they were still talking about what he said at his press conference.
He is so inarticulate and uncommitted to anything that in the middle of a sentence he will contradict what he said in the beginning of the sentence and at the end of the sentence.
Absolutely.
And I don't get as much of it as you guys do because I don't listen to FAN or any of the New York talking heads because they drive me absolutely freaking nuts. But when I heard Judge talking, he committed before last week's game. He basically said, we're going to go with Fromm. I took him out in the fourth quarter of the previous game because of blah, 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 blah. Nothing made sense.
Right.
Who cares? But I'm going to go with Fromm.
Mm-hmm.
And then Glennon.
So
something must have happened between who was out, who was injured, who they were playing, what happened in practice, where I think they have a better chance of winning with Fromm. So I think in Joe Judge's defense, I think it was basically a preservation of his quarterback. Yes, he might only be a backup, but the Giants have more invested in Fromm than they do in Glennon.
And even if it is only a possibility of a backup in the future, they don't want to get him hurt and get his ass handed to him.
What makes me excited about that decision and line of thought, which probably doesn't make any sense because it's too optimistic and actually logically looking at what's been going on, is the fact that maybe they're looking at Fromm as a backup to somebody else next year.
Right. There you go. That's a possibility. John Donovan just chimed in. He said, there is no reason to protect Fromm. He's not nearly an NFL quarterback. Agreed. Well, but as
this is the Giants we're talking about.
As not nearly an NFL quarterback as Fromm is or isn't, Mike Glennon is even less of one. So, and just on that particular note, Mike Glennon is out. He broke his wrist or fractured his wrist, so he needs surgery. He's
during
out.
The game. He literally went home, handed his wife a hammer,
right.
and said,
he put his hand in the front door and said, "Can you slam this?"
He put his hand in his Vitamix, making his smoothie. And
right, that's what I said when I first heard that he broke his wrist. This is certainly not from playing football. So I mean.
What's that? Wasn't it?
You can't
cut their hand making a sandwich.
Look, Glennon's an odd duck, and he's not the biggest talent, obviously. But you can't. The guy isn't out there not trying.
He was trying. I don't know what he was trying to do, but he was trying something. That's for sure.
The guy is pretty tough.
Yeah.
To play quarterback for the Giants, you got to be pretty resilient.
Well, really do. I mean, he also probably realizes,
he probably did break it.
These are his last snaps. If he,
Literally. I'd rather snap my wrist and take a snap.
Let me ask you guys this: there's no advantage to the Giants losing out, right?
The Giants should just forfeit this last game of the year and just
don't even show up.
So let me ask you this: do you think Joe Judge thinks he's going to get fired?
I don't know. They should get three hookers.
He's a little worried.
And just let him run rampant in the locker room.
We're getting this guy this week. So, Jake Fromm. So he'll be at quarterback this week.
Looks like he should work for State Farm.
I think he works for UPS on that picture, but not that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying.
Who cares? That's my whole thing. It's just like
actually he's going fishing with that picture. Is what he's doing.
For the last 4 years, my
Yellowstone hat.
My take on the Giants is: who cares? Is the season over yet?
Yeah,
maybe next year.
John Donovan just commented. He said, "Fromm has moxie, but no arm strength. I can almost guarantee that that the second string quarterback next year is not on the team right now."
Yeah, maybe so, but maybe he is on the team right now. Yeah. He's the current starter with the neck injury, right. Because he'd be a great second string quarterback. Regardless of that,
I see. All right.
Regardless of that, the Giants did draft Fromm, right?
With that statement, but
you don't think Daniel Jones would be a good backup?
I don't think he'd be a great second string quarterback. He sucks.
If he doesn't have to play, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was my point to the joke.
Oh, all right.
Well, but for the Giants, though,
my point is,
with the exception of when Eli Manning was the quarterback, a second-string quarterback actually has to be ready to play. Especially for the Giants, he needs to come in, especially now.
That's the thing. Yeah, if the guy twists his starting quarterback, twists his ankle and he's out for the second half of a game, Daniel Jones can fill in fine. If he goes down for
Harry, explain the joke.
If it goes down
back it up to 30,000 feet.
For 5 weeks.
The punchline didn't land very well. So what I was thinking in my head is that Daniel Jones be a great second string quarterback.
Yeah, because he wouldn't have to play.
The Giants are probably stuck with him because nobody else wants him.
Right. Yeah.
That's the premise of the joke.
Yes.
Anyway. So, with Fromm out, with Fromm in, with Glennon out. I was
thinking in a more practical sense as far as actually.
There's no third-string quarterbacks anymore, so you just can't you can't go there.
You can't. No, you can't. You don't do that. Anyway,
let me ask you guys this question.
Sure.
Top to bottom, not the individual positions on the team or anything, but. Top to bottom, is there a worse team in the NFL than the Giants?
Yeah.
And I mean as far as management.
Top to bottom, Jacksonville.
Ownership and the
I would say Jacksonville and maybe Detroit. Mm-hmm. And the Jets aren't much
Detroit's getting better.
Mm.
Right? Detroit is the best 2-13-1 team out there right now. That's definite.
But I don't think any of the fans of the Giants or the Jets, and there's no Lion fans on the podcast here. I don't think any of us have much confidence that our teams are going to get significantly better anytime soon, do we?
I have more confidence in the Jets getting better soon than I do with the Giants.
More confidence in the Lions getting better
the Lions? No.
Then
No.
the
I
Giants.
think if the Giants are at full strength and the Lions are at full strength, it is the worst game to ever watch, but it'll be really close.
It'll be 3-5.
Like
will be the
that.
final
I
score.
was so
JV
confident.
game that
I
gets
was
played before the
4-3, 2 safeties and a field goal.
I'm so confident in how bad Jacksonville is that I, without a doubt, picked the Jets to beat them. No doubt in my mind. And the Jets still almost blew it.
Right.
Yeah.
But look, picking the worst team, you can take all of those 4 teams, right, and put them in a basket, and whichever one you pick out, it's going to stink.
Well, just a couple things on the that game on Sunday. Okay, it was probably now the
Inside
the
the
Dolphins.
If it wasn't
game,
for a bad holding call,
no. I'm not. That's not where I'm going.
If the Giants they should have won by 15.
In the Dolphins game, I said that was the worst Giants game I've ever watched. Then there was the Eagles game. I said that was the worst Giants game I've ever watched. This past week was the worst Giants game I've ever watched. It got worse and worse each week. They actually
Judge has lost his team. He's lost his team.
When it comes to bad stretches, okay, I remember watching games in the 70s. Some of them were better than these last 3 games, especially, or these 5 anyway, have been. It's disgusting. The 70s were actually better, and it's disgusting to have to say that. The game that the Giants played where Joe Pisarcik fumbled the ball and Herm Edwards ran it in for a touchdown was a better game played by the Giants than this one was.
And they were bad, but they weren't horrible that year.
No.
Didn't they win 7 games?
6, I think.
6.
They should have won 7 games. But,
look.
But anyway,
Gettleman leaving is going to be a great thing. The elephant in the room is why are we sticking with Joe Judge?
I don't know. Well, I got a couple things on that too. His 11-minute tirade. That was one answer for 11 minutes that they keep talking about now. They're still talking about.
It's a skill.
All right. He mentioned in there. He mentioned that ex-players have called him up, telling him that they would like to be back on the Giants. That's actually tampering.
Like Carl Banks.
He didn't allude to who it was.
I mean, ex-players from the last 5 or 6 years. We don't want any of them.
He didn't say who it was. He was alluding to the fact that they were current NFL players that used to be on the Giants, that calling him up saying they would like to be back. Now that's actually tampering to a point. So that's a no-no. But do you realize that if they lose, which in all likelihood they will on Sunday, Joe Judge will be the first Giants head coach in history in almost 100 years to lose 13 games in a season. The Giants have lost 13 games in a season before, but it's been split between coaches. Most recent of which was Ben McAdoo's last year. He got fired after he went 2-10, and Steve Spagnuolo took over after that. But he will be the first head coach in Giants history to lose 13 games in a season.
3 more games at least.
I mean,
what was their final record that year?
3-13.
3-13.
3-13. Yeah.
So it really wasn't McAdoo. It was he left and they just continued to lose.
They lost 2. They went 1-2. 1-2.
Look, they stink.
1-3. 1-3. Right. 1-3.
Where does the fish always? Where does the stink out of fish emanate from?
Yeah.
It's
tail.
head.
Oh, the head.
But I will give you. Yeah.
The Giants are not going to be unless Judge. You could give the New England Patriots or take another team. You could hand the Kansas City Chiefs to Joe Judge. He would fuck it up.
Right. Yeah,
he's not an NFL head coach.
No, you're right. But ironically, I just want to say this really quick. Here's a stat for you. Mike Glennon had a passer rating of 5.3. That is not the lowest passer rating a Giant quarterback has ever had. The lowest passer rating a Giants quarterback has ever had was Norm Snead back in 1976. He had a passer rating of 0.
Fantastic.
Wasn't he a golfer?
Is he available for
That's
Sunday?
Sam Snead.
Is he available for Sunday?
Norm Snead, what you call it? They were playing a game against the Redskins. It was late in the season. The Redskins were actually a good team. The Giants actually won the game though, 12-9. There was 7
Defense
field
wins.
goals.
Bishne-Gano.
The Giants for the last,
but he had a quarterback rating of 0.
For the last game of the year, the Giants should just have an auction for a celebrity auction, and whichever weird New York celebrity wants to play quarterback can, like Curtis Sliwa or Mike and the Mad Dog can be reunited.
Yeah. They can
both
can the
play.
quarterback go out there and both stand behind center and quarterback.
Yeah, Spike Lee, who knows? Whatever.
Exactly.
Maybe
That
they
would
could
be-
bring. George Plimpton's dead, but
Yeah.
he might still get a higher than a 5 rating. You never know.
Martha Plimpton.
And John Donovan just waited, and he says, if Judge called them and said he wants them back, that would be tampering. It's not tampering if the player says it. It's to a point, though, I mean, because he actually can't speak with them, I believe. There's something in there like that. You're right, though. He can't call them. That's definite tampering. But,
Well, are these players that are unemployed? Yeah, I mean, even
well, if they're
even-
unemployed, yeah, but I'm talking, I mean, he was referring to like,
no, but I mean,
he
why
didn't
would
come
you
out and
wanna
say,
be
but like
back on-
Kevin Zeitler.
Are they playing in
why
the
would you
NFL?
wanna be
Are they
back
on the
on the
practice
Giants?
squad somewhere?
I don't know. I have no idea who it
Well-
was or
well,
what it
think-
was or what he was talking
all
about.
right, do you
Maybe
think-
it was Carl Banks.
Do you think
You know?
JPP wants to be back on the Giants? Do
Do
you think Jabril Peppers wants to be back on the Giants? I mean, who are the other?
Well, Jabril Peppers is still on the Giants, isn't he?
Not
Was.
who's the other defensive back that I'm thinking of that's having a Pro Bowl year? Anyway,
Eli Apple.
well, Eli Apple.
Eli Apple, there you go.
He's playing a hell of a lot better.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a reason for that. There's a growing concern out there, not concern, a growing like much like the Freddie Freeman being called for or whatever. Is it possible that Jim Harbaugh could be looking to get back into the NFL?
Do you really want Jim Harbaugh?
No, but I mean, if Jim Harbaugh went to John Mara and said, "Hey, get rid of him,
No.
I'm yours."
I don't want Jim Harbaugh.
No.
Next.
Oh yeah. Well, I think
Is he
you're.
the good Harbaugh or the jackass Harbaugh?
The good Harbaugh's in Baltimore.
Okay.
He's not going anywhere.
Jim Harbaugh did take the 49ers to the playoffs 3 years in a row. One of them they got
and
to
then
the Super
fucked it
Bowl.
all up after that.
Yeah, that's true.
Kind of.
So, anyway, and just one last note on the Giants. Kenny Gallaudet, after 16 games now, still has no touchdowns. All right, $70-something million, and he still has
Does this
zero
not
touchdowns.
go back?
However,
to the
there are
Giants'
6
inability to rate talent.
Right, there's 6 offensive linemen in the league that all have more touchdowns than he does. So, but
Well, I don't have any touchdowns either.
well, that's true.
They're not paying me $70 million.
They're not paying you the money exactly. There you go. Well,
So
Giants
I
are
took less, so other players could, so that they could sign
This-
guys like Gallaudet. I took
Right.
a
This
lot
has
less.
to be the lowest passing touchdowns the Giants have had in a season since the 80s.
since Norm Snead.
Yeah. I mean, right? I mean, it's
Since the forward pass was invented.
more rushing touchdowns or anything other than a field goal.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're bad.
It's ridiculous. All right, let's. I don't know what to say about the Giants anymore, and I don't think anything should really be said about the Giants anymore.
They need a new
pointless.
GM and a new coach.
This is true.
4 offensive linemen and a couple defensive linemen.
Right.
Start with the line. Always start with the line.
Trenches. That's what we got to call it. But
Yeah.
let's move on to the other New York team.
Are the Jets gonna win today? No. I mean yes. I mean no. I mean yes. I mean no. I mean yes. I mean no.
They almost won on Sunday.
Yeah.
The Jets have toyed with victory a number of times in the last couple of weeks, and actually won, but yeah.
Well, here's the
They
thing.
were able to snatch
Look,
defeat out of the Joseph victory on Sunday.
Here's the thing about the New York Jets, and I'll speak to this. There's been a lot of talk this week about, good signs and good things happened. And yeah, they ended up losing, but let's face it, the Bucs were a much better team to begin with. And, let's be happy with what we have. And those things, yes, they are all true. But ultimately, this was a failure.
Yep.
And I think it's a coaching failure.
It's a coaching failure. Look, the Jets.
He said, Robert Saleh said that it was a miscommunication, and it wound up that Zach Wilson was too, rookie of a quarterback to make that call. If that's the case and he knows that, he should have known that before sending that play in. And he
Or
should
you
have just
call a
called the play straight
timeout.
out.
And you should be kicking the field goal. Look,
Yeah,
I have seen.
That's
seen-
my biggest.
They
I
kick
have
that
seen-
field goal, they win the game.
I have seen Tom Brady come back from time and time again. I honestly, in my gut, said this game's over. The Jets have this one. Especially when the Jets were down on the 5-yard line.
Yep.
Kick the field goal.
Mhm.
Kick the field goal. It's totally different when you have to score a touchdown.
I don't blame.
Or even if you kick the field goal, even if they score the touchdown, which I completely believe they would have.
They would have. They still would have.
Then at least you're going out in a way in which you tried to win.
Well,
Right.
but
they still would have been 3 points up.
Yeah. Well, no, they would have
They would have had that. They
were up by 4. They kicked the field goal. They were up by 7.
Yeah.
So Tampa Bay is going to score the touchdown,
and either would have went to
then
overtime.
They have to figure out: do we want to win this now, or do we kick it? They'll probably kick it,
and
then
go to overtime.
Go overtime, right?
And you take your chances there.
Right.
What the Jets did again, they couldn't.
I'm sorry, that was a horrible call.
That was a horrible call. They got
the worst
to the
call I've ever seen.
56-minute mark or wherever it was, and then they became the Jets again.
Yeah.
Terrible.
The Jets jetted the jettiest thing that they
that
they
drive
did the
was
whole
masterful.
Day.
That last drive was masterful by the Jets.
And listen, and this was at a point where they had looked really, really good and had still looked good, but not as good. And Tampa Bay had a little bit of the momentum back.
Yep.
And they drove down the field, and instead of taking what the defense gives you, when you can't get in, okay, you can't get in, kick it.
Yep.
Make them score. And make them, if they want to go for 2, then okay. And
if they go for 2 and you lose,
if you lose the game at that point,
but you lost it like an NFL team. You didn't lose it like boneheads that screwed up.
Defending Super Bowl champions, helmed by the greatest quarterback who's ever lived. Blah blah blah.
Right.
This way, you blew it. You buried yourself. There was no question in any Jets fan's mind that whether they had kicked the field goal or did what they did, Tampa Bay was going into the end zone because they had to either way. It was 4 points.
I think you have to go back and play the averages. I think there's a trend to go for it on 4th down a lot lately in the NFL, and it doesn't always pan out well, especially for a team that is on the cusp of a huge upset and a really big step forward for them. And granted, there are some moral victories, but it just showed. Are the Jets really in the best position when it comes to a head coach? I don't know.
I think they're in a better position than the Giants are.
Well, that's like saying, it's like having your leg amputated and then coming down with a case of versus having a cold. It's different. Yeah, the Giants are terminal. The Jets the Jets have some symptoms that I'm worried about.
But you're right. You understand that your head coach is going to make mistakes. But that kind of mistake cannot be one of them.
No. It's a preparedness thing.
Yeah.
Do you think Mac Jones would have been better prepared in that situation?
But you know what? Here's the thing: that if there were calls all over the place that day, and they were just the wrong play going in, and Robert Saleh not calling the right game or whatever all day long, then it would have just been right. It would have just been another he called the wrong play again. But that game was very well coached.
They had a brilliant strategy that was working
to phone in. Clearly, wasn't even sent in. It was like he left and phoned it in on the way out to the lockers. To phone in that bonehead of a call at that point in the game is just ridiculous.
To leave any possibility that the 4'11", 112-pound Zach Wilson is going to, expect his line to.
Is that
what is the weight?
They should
what
have
is
hit
the weight of the Tampa Bay defensive?
Well, what if they just
like 1,000 pounds?
What if they just
hit guys?
What if they just hit him in the center's towel?
Maybe. Or listen, put a big fullback in the backfield. Have him take the snap, have the fullback pick him up and throw him over the line.
You could have done that too, right?
Anything other than send the guy who looks like a 14-year-old into the lion's den.
It's
ridiculous. It's just
It was
again,
it was stupid.
Again, this is moral victories. Yes, good things we saw. Great.
Yeah, Barrios looks amazing.
He does. These teams, a la the Jets, a la perennially lousy teams. At some point, they have to turn a corner, even if it's just for this one game, where they actually put everything together, take advantage of these situations, and come away with a win, or lose. Again, if they kick it, Tampa Bay goes down the field and scores, and they go for 2 and they get in. Okay, but not lose it poorly.
Yeah, take your chances.
Not lose it in a Jet-esque way.
Win the coin toss in overtime and put your best
drive
person,
down and
put your best offensive player in a position to win the game for you. I mean, what's his name? The kick returner of the Jets is probably their most explosive player.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
But
absolutely.
they couldn't get that done. So ultimately, this is a failure.
Yeah. No,
And
I
it's just, you know,
I agree. I agree
don't put it on
100%.
Zach Wilson. I
don't put it on Zach Wilson. I put it on Robert Saleh.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Absolutely.
They never should have been. They never should have been going for it.
It should
have
be.
been kicking it.
Absolutely
Should have been
not.
kicking
It wasn't even that close. That's a no-brainer. It's a
Right.
no-brainer.
I
Well,
will
right,
say
not to mention you don't want a quarterback sneak from 2 yards.
2 yards. It wasn't like they had a half a
With
yard to
anybody.
go.
That's what I'm saying. It's 2 yards. Look, it's not the sexy, popular call anymore.
Right.
But one of the things that I always loved about Bill Parcells in his Giant days, especially in the early years, is that when they never took points off the board. They kicked the field goal. They kicked the field goal. They went back. They put their defense in a position to get the ball
You
back
make
again.
you make the other team beat you.
Absolutely.
You don't make
Absolutely.
it. You come away with nothing.
Nothing.
You know,
It's different. It's different if they were on their own 40 and it was a 58-yard field goal.
Right.
That's totally different. This was a chip shot, and it would have put them in a way better position to win the game.
Yeah.
They just should have. I mean, and I will say though, I mean, even though everything we've said for the last 10 minutes obviously it was wrong and it was a failure. There's still some things from that game you can hold your head high on.
Yeah.
And the takeaway from that game is that Tom Brady had none of his weapons and still just sliced through them at the end of the game.
Well, I'll give you some stats.
It was like watching him with the four guys from the Dunkin' Donuts parking lot when he's playing for the Patriots.
I'll give you some stats. Tom Brady right now, with that win on Sunday, is now 30-7 lifetime against the Jets. At least he has lost 7 games. But his average this year,
most win and most losses against the Jets.
right? Yeah. This just shows he's been playing for 97 years.
Because nobody else in that division has played long enough.
As long, yeah, really. His average passer, his average yards passing this season is 240.3. He had 410 yards on Sunday. He's had some other big games, obviously, but he had 410 yards on Sunday.
First half. But yeah.
Well, and they got the ball to 25, right?
Yeah.
So 70. So it was 350 going into that last drive.
Right, exactly. So, whatchamacallit, his average passer rating for the season so far.
No, they didn't get it. They didn't 93. Get it to 25 on that.
No, they got it at the 4.
They got it at the 4. It was a 96.
Oh yeah, no, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So they had he had 314 yards before the last.
Yards, and ended up with 410. Yeah.
Right. So, but his average passer rating this year has been 93. He was 104.6 on Sunday. So there you go.
He's leading the NFL in yardage. He's got over 4,990 yards.
Yes. Yeah, he does. I have the stats here. We're going to talk about that in a second. One other interesting stat, too, I just want to bring up. Zach Wilson was 2 years old when Tom Brady won his first Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. So I just thought that was interesting.
They were 20 years apart, right?
they're
22 years apart.
22 years apart, yeah.
He's double
When's
his age.
the last time the Jets beat the Patriots?
Well, they beat the Patriots last year.
I mean,
didn't they?
Tom Brady, I should say Tom Brady.
Last time they beat Tom Brady,
probably 4 or 5 years ago. They did. I think they did beat him that last year that he was on the Pats.
Maybe. I think he did. Yeah, I think he did. So we'll have to go back and check. Jimmy, check that out.
Anyway. Get on that, Jimmy.
Yeah, that Jimmy. All right. A few other things. Hold on a second here. Had to clear my throat. Well, we already talked about Antonio Brown. Tom Brady. We'll stick with the Tom Brady stuff. He has 40 touchdown passes in back-to-back seasons.
We're gonna just talk about how fucking great Tom Brady is now. I know he's on the Bucs now, but that doesn't exactly, close up the wound.
I gotcha. Well, I'm trying to get away from the wound for you. Just, segue into other football teams here. Tom Brady, 40 touchdown passes in back-to-back seasons for the first time in his career. He's never had back-to-back seasons where he's had 40-plus touchdown passes back-to-back before. So it's first time. And on that Tom Brady note, only one other thing. Don't worry, Pete. And it's involving other players too. I gotta ask you. I gotta ask both of you guys actually. MVP wise, obviously his name's in there for MVP. He's got
not enough. I very rarely hear people talking about him.
He's got 10 yards away, which obviously, unless he doesn't play on Sunday, which I'm sure he's going to, he'll have over 5,000 passing yards this year. 49.90 he's got right now. 40 touchdowns. Excuse me, 40 touchdowns, only 12 interceptions. And
the interceptions are the one thing that I think hurts him a little bit. Only compared to Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers has over 1,000 yards less than him.
I understand that,
but he has 39.77. But he has only 5 touchdowns, 35 touchdowns, and he only has 4 interceptions. And he's got a higher passer rating, 111.1.
Yeah, he's got the highest passer rating in the league.
Yeah, he does. But on that note, too, you got a guy like Jonathan Taylor. 2,076, all his yards between rushing and receiving, and 20 touchdowns. So, I mean, where do you, and or even Cooper Kupp with 1,829 receiving yards and 15 touchdowns. So, who are you looking at? Who are you guys looking at for as far as MVP goes? Is my point.
I'm going to throw out a couple names that, and look, I think Jonathan Taylor should be in the discussion without a doubt.
Sure.
I'm going to throw somebody out there who I think needs to be in the discussion because I think what he's done for his team is maybe even more important than Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
And that's Joe Burrow.
Sure.
Because Joe Burrow has 4,611 yards, has brought Cincinnati a division championship for the first time in I don't know how long, has a 70.4% completion rating. And by the way, doesn't have a great offensive line. They've gotten better. And he's coming back from a really, really rough injury.
Sure.
What Burrow has done, especially in crunch time towards the end of the season, I think you gotta. Other than Rodgers and Brady, who has had now? Look, stat wise, you can look at Stafford and Herbert, however the fuck you say his name. Even Derek Carr's numbers are pretty impressive. Mahomes, of course, needs to be in the discussion. Josh Allen. There's a lot of great quarterbacks in there, but I think Burrow has had such a big impact on that team.
I agree with you. The last 2 weeks, he went 37. 2 weeks ago, he went 37 for 46 for 525 yards. 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. And this past Sunday went 30 for 39 for 446 yards, 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. It's almost 1,000 yards in 2 weeks, 971. Steve Spagnuolo, by the way, was quoted as saying he reminds him of a young Tom Brady. So you want to take that.
I mean, Burrow is kind of a club, but he's way more agile, athletic than Brady.
Sure, absolutely.
So is Pete. But although Brady, I think, has had his highest rushing.
Pete's got moves. He's got moves.
I think Brady's had his more rushing yards this year than he's ever had in his career.
I definitely did. Absolutely. He's run more. He's run the ball more. He's run the ball more this year than he ever has before. That's for sure. But it's. I agree with you there.
Here's one number. Which is why I put Joe Burrow in the category for MVP. Tom Brady's been sacked 21 times. Matthew Stafford, 25. Justin Herbert, 28. Joe Burrow has been sacked 51 times.
Unbelievable. 51 times.
Okay. And here's another name, okay, that I don't think he should deserve MVP, but there's got to be some sort of award for him here. Is Ryan Tannehill. Is that for whatever it is that he's been sacked 46 times this year? I mean,
those are Ryan Luck numbers.
Yeah,
it really is. I mean,
Ryan Luck and
Tannehill's got Tennessee on the verge of having the top seed in the
Andy
AFC.
Leaf.
Yeah.
They're both Bradfords.
I couldn't think of his first name for the life of me.
Yeah.
By the way, December 27, 2015.
That was the last time the Jets
beat Tom Brady.
There you go.
It's pathetic.
It is pathetic. Anyway, with those numbers, though, I gave you before, Cooper Kupp.
Right? He's having a great year.
He is, right? Cooper Kupp has 1,829 receiving yards this year. Now, as far as the record for receiving yards in a year, Antonio Brown's next with 1,834. Jerry Rice next with 1,848. Julio Jones next with 1,871. And Megatron is the leader with 1,964. So Cooper Kupp needs 140 yards to tie, 141 to beat him on Sunday. He only received 95 yards this past Sunday. So
yeah, but he's averaging 114 yards a game.
114 yards a game, but he needs 141 to break
person in the
Megatron's
league,
record. There's no doubt in my mind he'll be number 2.
Yards. Yeah.
I mean, he needs 50. He needs 42 yards. He needs 43 yards to become number 2, but he needs almost 100 yards beyond that to beat Megatron. So, yeah, I don't know that he'll do it, but do you think they'll? My point is, do you think that they'll actually like the game plan, like Sean McVay will actually game plan to get Cooper Kupp that?
Well, they're in. Fortunately for him, they're in a game that has some bearing and is important for them, right?
Right.
So, I think they could do it. I wouldn't put it past them. It's going to be tough. San Francisco's defense is pretty good.
It's pretty good, yeah.
But I think it comes down more to Matthew Stafford than it does to Cooper Kupp. I mean, I think Kupp will give himself the opportunity to put him in position to do it. It's just whether or not Stafford's going to be able to get him the ball, and they got to look. OBJ's been having a couple good games here. That was the big thing that I noticed in that Rams game.
I mean,
when the game was on the line, OBJ had some clutch catches.
He did. OBJ in 29 games with the Browns, totally had 7 touchdowns. In 7 games with the Rams, he's had 5 touchdowns so far. So I mean, there's something there, I think. But what are you going to do? So there's a lot. There's some other stats I want to throw at you really quick right now. Kyle Pitts. Pitts is the second tight end in NFL history with 1,000+ receiving yards in his rookie season.
On Atlanta.
Okay.
Well, I mean, in his defense, I still think Matt Ryan's a pretty good quarterback.
I think he is too. Who was number one? Who was number one? Who was the first tight end with 1,000+ receiving yards in his rookie season?
Tony Gonzalez.
Nope. Got to go back to 1961.
Oh, I have no fucking idea.
Pete.
1961 tight end with more than 1,000 yards,
which is impressive in 61 for somebody to have 1,000 yards.
Ray Berry.
Nope.
Fred Biletnikoff.
Nope.
John Mackey.
Nope. Yeah, nope.
Mike Ditka.
There you go. Ding, 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 ding.
Ditka had over 1,000
yards.
Ditka.
Wow. Rookie season 1961 had over 1,000 receiving yards. Yeah. There you go, as a rookie.
I mean, that's impressive.
Yep. Yeah. So Kyle Pitts is the second tight end to do that. So, and again, like you said, and I agree. Whatchamacallit, Matt Ryan is a much better quarterback than the the air would give him at this point in time with whatever.
Yeah.
I can't think of the word.
Yeah, but I mean, Ryan's always been considered a really good quarterback.
He's a good quarterback.
Fucks up in big games.
Well, that brings up that
like the Super Bowl.
Well, was his defense didn't help him
who
out there.
could blow a 28-3 lead?
But I mean, that's not the only game where he's underperformed under pressure situations.
Yeah, but I mean, why are we not talking about Matt Ryan going somewhere else? I mean,
I know.
Well, isn't he like 39 years old?
Okay, so he's got there. 6 more years left.
Well, if he's on the
measuring stick now,
he's on the TB12 plan, then he can play till he's 47.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
I mean, seriously though, I think that would be the only reason.
That wouldn't be.
Yeah,
he's old.
Yeah. Jamar Chase, 266 receiving yards on Sunday versus the Chiefs. That is the most in NFL history by a rookie in one game. 266 yards. So that's literally. You think about it. Joe Burrow threw for 446 yards on Sunday. He only threw 180 yards to anybody else total other than Jamar Chase.
Look, I don't want to. If I'm an AFC team, I don't want to play the Bengals.
No.
And I'll tell you something: if the Bengals can focus on getting some really some more talent on the offensive line, for the next couple of years, you could be looking at a passing attack that could make Kansas City's from 2 years ago look meek in comparison. I mean, they got the potential of being really, really, really good.
They do. They have a lot of good weapons. It's not just. I mean, Jamar Chase is a killer.
Well, you got Higgins. He's got 110 catches and over 1,000 yards.
Boyd's got yards. They have a lot of weapons. They do, and don't count out what's his face, Mixon.
Yeah,
decent, solid, serviceable running back. So
well, and he can obviously catch the ball,
and he can catch the ball out of backfield too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So. But all right.
He hasn't punched any women in the face in a long time,
and he hasn't for a while. No, it's been a while.
He's got COVID now.
You got to keep him out of McDonald's. That's all.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't. There's no real game this week, per se, for the Bengals. So
yeah, they're going to sit everybody.
They'll sit everybody. So, speaking of the Steelers, or the AFC North, as it were, Ben Roethlisberger played in what is most likely his last game at Heinz Field on Monday. 248 games played as a Steel. That's the most in Steelers history. So.
Wouldn't it have been nice if the Giants could have sent Eli Manning off the way in which the Steelers sent off Ben Roethlisberger?
What, with a win?
Well, with the win and just...
Well, the Giants did send off. Eli's last game was
against
against the Dolphins, and they won.
Yeah, I just feel like there was something in that stadium. There was
cool.
something in that stadium and the way in which it all.
Oh yeah, it was definitely there. Everybody was there.
That was.
I will tell you though, I was actually at Eli's. No, it was very classy, and I'll give them that. But I will tell you, I was at Eli's last game against the Dolphins 2 years ago, and it was not. While it wasn't what they did for Ben on Monday. It was pretty decent. They did a bunch of things for Eli, and the crowd. I mean,
I guess
several ovations.
It wasn't on national television.
It wasn't on national television, so you didn't get to see it really. So, but anyway, he is one of only 3 quarterbacks, Ben Roethlisberger, to throw for over 60,000 yards in his career and win 2 Super Bowls. Who were the other 2?
Joe Montana and Tom Brady.
Tom Brady's one of them. Joe Montana's not.
Tom Brady and
over 60,000 yards.
Over 60,000 yards in his career. Two Super Bowls.
Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning. Yep.
I forget about the second one because he had nothing to do with it.
So, yeah, Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady, and Peyton Manning. There you go. So, and on that note, Steelers-wise, Mike Tomlin now has, with that win on Monday, has guaranteed 15th straight to start his career. So 15 straight years, has 0 losing seasons. That is the most by a head coach to start and have his head coaching. To start a head coaching career, 15 straight seasons with no losing seasons. So.
What does it take for the Steelers to get into the playoffs?
The Steelers have to win.
Right.
The Steelers have to win. The Colts have to lose, and the Raiders have to win.
Raiders have to win.
I believe that. I have a list of that. Well, we're going to put it up on the screen in a minute. But
I mean, wouldn't that be something if Pittsburgh could squeeze into the playoffs
at 9-7-1? Yeah, they could.
Well, yeah. I mean, isn't that a better record than the Giants had for their second Super Bowl?
Giants were 9-7, so technically the same. With the tie out of there.
The tie gives you. If it was hockey, though, you'd have 2 more points.
Yeah, I don't know. Is the tie better, or
it keeps it the same, all right? I mean, it's basically the same. It's neither a win nor a loss. So
yeah, because you got 9.5 wins and 7.5 losses.
So the average is the same, so to speak.
Yeah.
Here's something that Pete would like. I know he's going to like it.
Is it about Tom Brady?
No, it's not about Tom Brady. It's I'm going to bring up T.J. Watt. TJ Watt had 4 sacks on Monday night.
He's close. He's close to breaking.
He's got
the record.
21 and a half sacks. If he gets another 1.5 sacks on Sunday, he will break Michael Strahan's record.
Is our sacks? Why do I not care about this record?
It's one of the most coveted records in the NFL.
I think it's utter bullshit.
Kind of one of the
Because what nobody realizes is that prima donna of the defensive line, the defensive end, or the linebacker, or the edge rusher, as they call them now, those guys in the middle, a lot of times, are doing all of the hard work for those guys to be able to get to the quarterback.
Right. Well, I got you. I know where you're coming from, and I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Michael Strahan set the record with 22 and a half sacks in 2001 when he totally annihilated Brett Favre on
Let's look. Who are the top
kidding.
5 seasonally in sacks? I mean, obviously Gastineau and Strahan, and who else is on that list?
Richard Dent was up there. He just got knocked off. He had 17 and a half sacks,
Right.
and he he got surpassed by Quinn on Sunday because with the 1 sack he got.
Right.
You mean like who are the guys who have the most sacks in NFL history?
Yeah.
J.J. Watt, I think, has 20.
Yeah. So, but I mean,
Oh, you mean in a season?
In a season.
The reality of it is that, of course, that record is going to continue to be broken because it's become a pass-dominant game.
Well, let me ask
There's
you
more
this.
opportunities.
Well, no, that's true. I'll give you that, but let me ask you this, though.
And,
all right?
and the league is thin, and there's not as good an offensive lineman.
I'll ask you this. If he does break it on Sunday, does an asterisk go up?
Why? Because there's an extra game?
Because there's an extra game.
I think so.
So Michael Strahan did it in 1 less game.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens. Everything changes, right?
But they also didn't start. I mean, I think sacks should have an asterisk against all of them because they didn't start keeping. I mean, even LT's first year in the league, they weren't tracking stats.
81 was the LT's first year. 82, they started keeping track of sacks.
So
but we kind of went back and looked at all those, right?
Yeah, but it's not official though. Nothing's official till 82 and beyond. They even if they went back and they found somebody sacked the quarterback 39 times in a season, it's not official because they didn't start keeping the stat until 82.
All right, so here's the you want the official or the unofficial?
Official's fine.
Okay.
Both. Why not? What the hell?
All right. Well, basically, all right. So
in a season, is that what you're giving us?
In a season, yeah. So it's Strahan, Jared Allen, Gastineau, Justin Houston, TJ Watt, Chris Dolman, Reggie White, Aaron Donald, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So half those guys are probably not even going to make it into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
My point being,
unofficial.
Yeah.
Al Baker's number 1 with 23.
Well, yeah. Al Giroux are up there too.
Al Giroux got 24, I think he had it.
Strahan, Allen, Gastineau, Houston, Deacon Jones, Pierce twice with 22. Coy Bacon, Deacon Jones again, tied with TJ Watt at 21.5. Then you have Dolman and White and Errol Donald. So basically you got Deacon Jones, Coy Bacon, and Al Baker all in the top, 10 or so unofficially.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah, that's the thing about this. This even pisses me off more about Strahan because now anybody is going to have an asterisk unless they go back to a 16-game season at some point, and we know that's not going to happen. So no one's really going to, no one's really going to break that. He's in a 16-game season.
And Gastineau's record was 16 games, so that was apples to apples. So.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess we'll
see.
Well, how many games were there before there were 16?
14.
So who's the guy who holds?
So Deacon Jones is up there with 22, and Deacon Jones did it in 14 games.
That was my point with guys like Deacon Jones and even Reggie White and guys who did it year in and year out. And look, those are defensive tackles, really.
Sure.
I mean, Reggie White is kind of the game has changed. These guys, a lot of these guys, and TJ Watt's certainly not that, but a lot of these sack records are guys who that's all they do.
Yeah.
Strahan wasn't that way, but the year that he did it, he sort of was. I mean,
some of these guys are, and some of them aren't.
It's easier to come in when you're not in there on first and second down, and you can be in there on third and long to get a sack.
Right. I hear you.
So,
all right. One other quick stat here. I just found it interesting. Mannion, the quarterback that filled in for Kirk Cousins on Sunday for the Vikings, he has now started 3 NFL games in his career. All 3 of them were Week 17 games. It's just a weird stat.
Interesting.
I just thought it was funny. Anyway, that's why I saved it to last, because it didn't matter. Anyway, all right.
Starting to get excited about talking about Mets backup catchers.
There you go. All right, and third base coaches. All right. All right. Before we move forward, we're gonna do we're gonna take a look at the playoffs and seeding in a second. But I just wanted to throw this out there. You brought it up last week when we did the Denver logos when we were doing them. That the older logos are better for all the teams in Denver, for that matter. So it got me thinking. So let's do logos this week, but let's do the Giants and the Jets, but look at the Giants and the Jets logos. They're all-time logos. You pick your favorite. We'll do the Giants first. I'll throw them up on the screen. All right. There's all of the Giants logos from the first time they had a logo all the way till today. And so we'll start for the Giants. We'll start with Harry. Harry, what's your favorite Giants logo of those?
I used to think it was one of the, the kind of 61 to 74. I'm going to go 76 to 99. I just think there's none of these are going to win graphic design awards.
Not at all.
But there's something about, I guess maybe it's because of the era that I remember the most, but there's something just about the spelt out Giants with the slight slant.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be number 1. And then 61 to 74 would be number 2. The present one is basically that old one with a red stripe around it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't like the stripe. I don't like the red as much in it. But I will say this. I also think that 76 to 99 logo, there was a version where they didn't have the red outline on it.
Right.
So I like that one.
So 76.
Although the guy throwing the ball out of the Roman Coliseum is pretty cool. And then the 45 to 49 logo, you can't even read it. Is that a foot coming out of it?
New York Football Giants. Yeah.
New York Football Giants.
Is that his leg coming out of the logo?
It's his leg coming out of the logo. It's similar one to the neck to the 50 to 55.
So. Yeah. Okay, I see it. Yeah.
So you at 76 to 99. That's yours.
I think I would like a commemorative coin of the 50 to 55 one. I think that'd be nice.
That'd be nice. There you go. Pete, what's yours?
It's the same broken leg in the 45 to 49 and 50 to 55.
It does look like a broken leg.
Look at that guy.
The angle's a little different.
It's weird, yeah.
It's the Lynn Dickey logo.
Pretty much.
Anyway, I mean I think Harry's right. Just the letters it's just letters, and there's a lot of teams that have just letters. So amongst those, I would say the 61 to 74 is my favorite, just letters. I would probably have to put 76 to 99 because it's got their name, their full name.
Gotcha.
I like 56 to 60 second best though, because it doesn't have either.
Right.
So I kind of like that. That's my number 2.
It's funny that the 56 to 60 logo also has the Loggeroo podcast sports show next to it.
That's another reason to really love it. So.
I mean,
that was part of the logo back
then.
They
were way ahead of their time.
Way ahead of their time.
Absolutely. So.
Sid Luckman was
I'm really surprised they didn't put the letters in the the panels of the Coliseum or whatever it is there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With spelling out the name, or if you spelled out the name on those panels right underneath, where his outstretched arm is,
right,
that would be kicking. You had Giants on there.
That 75 one is horrible.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, that logo with Giants on his arm going out, that'd be awesome.
With the word Giants, or even on his shirt, on his jersey.
Yeah, I don't even think they deserve a logo right now.
Not at all.
Just should be just a Giants player looking down, and
just a question mark.
It's the guy standing in the rain looking sad.
Exactly.
Just a question mark.
That's just a question mark.
Joe Judge's
that's the whole logo, right? Exactly.
New York Giants.
All right. Those of you just listening to the audio podcast, check out the Facebook and YouTube video, which always remains on those. And you can check out what logos we're talking about. We're going to go to the Jets now. We'll start with Pete. These are all the Jets logos. Jets actually, they've been around a lot less time than the Giants. They have more logos. They're a lot more similar, though, so throw them up right now. These are the Jets logos. Obviously, the first one, 60 to 62, is the Titans. And then 63, they went on to just the plain. When I say plain, I don't mean PLAIN. I mean PLANE.
It's kind of both.
It looks like
plain. It's a plain.
it looks like the Dolphins logo with a wing on it.
Yeah, you're right. It does look like a dolphin with a wing coming out the bottom of his.
It's a dolphin with an extra flipper.
The present day one is okay,
right?
But I don't think it's as good as the 98 to 2018 with that dark background.
Dark background. You like that?
I like that.
Gotcha.
The Titans is a cool logo, but it really is kind of a, like 50s and 60s kind of a look to it.
Sure.
Honestly, I kind of like the 64 to 66.
64 to 66, that one? The original,
because
the original football one?
Yep. Because again, the 98 to 2018, you have the letters behind the Jets as opposed to the 2019 to present. I like the dark background, but I don't like the letters. But in the white background, the letters they're back there, but you don't really see them.
They're not as confusing. They're the only thing that's the background, so it's a little bit more. I get you. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and then you have looks like the font has not changed.
Pretty much, except for 78 to
97, which looks like whatever. I don't even know. It
reminds me of Richard Todd, that logo. That's all.
Yeah, it doesn't take a sack. Let's put it that way.
It doesn't.
No, it takes a sack. It doesn't throw it. Would rather take a sack than throw in interceptions.
Gotcha.
I kind of would go 64, 66.
There you go.
And then probably.
Yeah, it's just that football looks so.
Yeah,
weird.
I know.
It's like a.
It's like a comb.
That's the other thing about
looks like a comb. The
other thing about 98 to 2018, the football looks weird. I like the dark background, but I would say number one is 64 to 66. Number two would be the present day. It's a pretty good logo.
There you go. Harry?
Boy, I feel like with the Giants and the Jets, they could definitely get some better. This looks like first-year graphic design.
Yeah.
It's pretty horrible.
Pretty much.
All right, so the Jets are in the outline of a football, and then we're going to put another football
inside, right? Yeah.
I don't love any of them. I like the 78 to 97, just because it's a little different. It does look like maybe a TWA logo or something from the 70s, but. It's, I don't know. I mean, the 63 one I like just because it's kind of horrible.
Right.
It just looks like really bad.
Yeah.
And the Titans logo is great.
That looks like the front of a comic book.
I mean, yeah, exactly.
About the Titans of New York.
The 64, 67, 70, 98, and present one.
Uh-huh.
You don't like the football-shaped ones.
They're just all – I'll go with 67 to 69 because it's at least the Jets' colors. The green is right, and the football's a little better shaped. But I like the 78 to 97 one.
78 to 97.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, there you go. Those are our –
It went well with the mullets hanging out of the helmets.
Went very well with the mullets, those. Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. All right, so let's talk. Let's save this. Let me just let's talk a little bit about the playoffs. And the reason I want to put this up this week instead of next week, and we'll put them up both weeks actually, is the fact that there is another extra week in the season now, right?
Yeah.
Now,
explain to us how the playoffs are working.
This time last year or any other year, this would be the playoffs. This would be the playoff picture right here.
Right.
I'll put it up on the screen. Here we go. This would be the playoff picture, and I borrowed this from. Something online, one of the betting places, I forget. But this is the way the playoff picture looks as if the season were to end today. All right, and that would be Green Bay and Tennessee, both of the number one seeds in their respective divisions, getting the bye. Dallas would play Arizona, the 4 and 5 seeds. Tampa Bay would play San Francisco, the 3 and 6 seeds, and the Rams would play the Eagles, the 2 and 7 seeds. And in the AFC, the Bills would play New England, the 4 and 5 seeds. The Bengals would play the Colts, the 3 and 6 seeds, and the Chiefs would play the Chargers, the 2 and 7 seeds.
This is how it is this year.
This is how it is right now. If the season were to end today, this is how it would be.
Yeah, I don't like the only one bye.
Well, that's what you get when you get 3 wildcard teams now. So 7 teams, so 14 teams make it.
Gotta fuck with everything.
Well, it's an extra. It's more games. It's more money.
I know. I know.
So now here's the teams that are on the bubble. Whatchamacallit? The Colts and Chargers again would be in it today if the season were to end today. The teams for the AFC that are on the bubble: the Raiders, the Steelers, and the Ravens. All right. The Raiders will win. The Raiders get in if they win. All they have to do is win, and they're in. So if they beat the Chargers, they're in, and the Chargers are out. If they tie and the Colts lose, then the Raiders are in even and with the Chargers. And Indianapolis loses and Pittsburgh loses or ties. A little confusing. Yeah, it's crazy. The Steelers can get in. Like I said, the Steelers can get in with an Indianapolis. If they win, Indianapolis loses, and the Chargers and Raiders game does not end in a tie.
It does not end. And Antonio Brown returns home to the Steelers.
Exactly. And the Ravens can possibly get in as well. And then on the bubble in the NFC, the only team that's on the bubble is the Saints. And they can get in. Let me scroll back to the Saints here. The Saints can get in it. Here we go. The Saints can get in if they win and San Francisco loses. So San Francisco is the only team in this right now that's on the bubble.
Yeah, I mean, that's very realistic.
There you go. Whatchamacallit? Philly's in. Every other team's in. Every other team is locked. San Francisco's the only team that can drop out of this. If they lose and New Orleans wins, then New Orleans replaces the 49ers. Yeah.
I can't believe we got 2 teams from the NFC East.
Yep, 2 teams from the NFC East. Or they're in. It's done already. Eagles are in the playoffs. So, but so that's it. So what we'll do is we'll put this back up next week with whatever changes, just to see what 1 week does. If that week gets another team in, does it get the Saints in? Does it get the Raiders in? Does it get the Steelers in? So we'll see what happens. And again, does that mean what does that mean? It means nothing. It doesn't matter because that's what's going to happen. But I just find it interesting. No, I mean the season ended today, which in every other year it has ended in week 17, right? Which is 1 week of a bye. This would be the playoff picture, but the playoff picture can change because they added the weekend.
Well, what's interesting is if it does happen this way, you've got in the AFC, you got 2 games that feature division rivals playing each other in the first round. Absolutely. And that the 3rd seed is not a good place to be in this new setup.
It's not?
I don't think so. I mean, you look, Cincinnati's going to have to play Indianapolis and Tampa Bay, San Francisco. I mean, I guess what would happen, correct me if I'm wrong, if San Francisco doesn't get in and New Orleans gets in, does Philly move up to the 6th spot?
No, I believe Philly stays in the 7th spot regardless.
Okay.
Because by virtue of record and teams they played and whatever. So Philly would remain the 7th seed, and the Saints would leapfrog them, and Frisco would be out, and the Saints would be in the 6th seed. So, but so there you go. So like I said, we'll put this up and we'll see what it looks like next week, just to see if there's any differences. I just found it interesting.
Yeah,
that's that. So there you go. All right. So that is this week in football. So what do you think we? I don't know. Do some picks.
Yeah, why not?
Why don't we do that?
Sure.
Beaten by the coin.
Beaten by the coin.
I'm sure I'll lose to the coin.
No one wants to be beaten by the coin.
All right.
Here we go. I'll put up the sheet for us.
Put up the sheet. So there we go. Pretty good week for all of us.
Right.
More or
Shitty
less.
week, 3-3.
Well, 3-3. It's mediocre. So yeah, me and John 4-2. The coin 4-2.
Look at that.
Yeah, despite its best efforts. And so me, then a game back John, a game back Harry, and the coin now within 8 games of respectability, which is 500 or better. So, and we've got this week, and we've got 5 or 6 games this week, and then we got the playoffs. So still a lot of picks to be made.
Sure.
So let's start things off with the NYJ. Oh, they have the many lousy football-shaped logos.
The bulbous footballs.
Bulbous football.
But, yeah, they really don't look very much like footballs, do
They
they?
look like those old school footballs.
They look like
What's that?
the-
Rugby.
the-
Australian
It
rules
looks like a
football.
rugby.
yeah, there you go, the rugby ball. So the Jets are visiting Buffalo, and a chance to spoil Buffalo's AFC division title,
Sure.
much the way Buffalo did a number of years ago in the Rex Ryan era.
This is
But they won't, of course. So Buffalo is going to win this game.
yeah, well, if you're asking, I agree. So
Anyone
Yeah.
disagree?
No.
Okay.
No.
Let's see what the old coin says. Coin's feeling hot after a 4-2 week.
Yeah.
Goes heads with the home team, so coin says Buffalo.
Buffalo.
All right, Washington visiting the New York Football Giants.
Mhm.
Gentlemen,
Washington.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
don't think the Giants are going to pull this one out.
No.
No.
What if Jake Fromm turns out to be really good?
Then I'll be wrong.
They'll probably sign somebody tomorrow and bench Fromm anyway.
And seed him in. So
Yeah, I
they'll
got to
sign Bobby Abear.
I got to take the football team.
There you go.
Well, who
All right.
I heard is ready to announce a new name soon.
They're going to call themselves not the Giants. Coin says tails, which is the away team. So we're all on the Washington bandwagon there.
There you go.
All right, Clippers against the Raiders, and whoever wins this goes, right?
Whoever wins this goes.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
I mean, both teams are so schizophrenic.
Uh-huh. I'm actually gonna say the Raiders are winning this game.
Raiders have been a little bit hotter of late, right?
And more
Haven't
consistent.
they won 2
too.
in a row? Yeah, more consistent.
4 in a row.
Maybe not. Oh, that's okay. I'd say that's hot.
Yeah. I think the Raiders will win this game. I'm taking the Raiders.
I am too.
I'm going to go with the Chargers.
All right.
Yeah, right.
I just don't trust Derek Carr in a big game.
Understandable. Coin likes the away team.
Chargers.
Likes the Chargers.
Chargers, yeah. All right. Pittsburgh at Baltimore. Last week of the season, as it should be.
Sure.
And whoever wins this goes, right? Or Pittsburgh needs a little help.
No.
Pittsburgh. They both. need help.
Baltimore wins. They're
Oh, they
in.
both need help.
Pittsburgh needs help if they win, right?
Right.
No Lamar Jackson, it sounds like.
No.
Yeah.
But
Who's actually favored in this? I'm imagining
That's a good
Baltimore
question.
is probably favored by like 2.
it's probably going like that. Yeah. You checking there, Pete?
To see who's favored?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't even know where to look for that. They don't give you the line on NFL.com.
Here, I'll
ESPN.
Oh, do they?
Well, do you guys have a pick?
Not without seeing the line.
Oh, okay. Thought maybe I was the only one that didn't know what the fuck was going on in this one. This is a tough game. Again,
We've been on a podcast for more than a year.
Pittsburgh.
And you think that you're the only guy who doesn't know what the hell's going on?
Pittsburgh,
You're on a podcast with me.
The Ravens are favored by 4.5 points.
5.5 now.
Okay. There you go.
5.5. All right. Well, not that we.
This is had the Steelers just, well, we wouldn't probably be picking this game if the Steelers lost last week. Oh
I
man,
hate the Steelers so much.
every time I go against Baltimore, every time I go with Baltimore, they screw me. Every time I go against them, they screw me.
Let's see. They lost to the Rams by a point, right?
Right.
Who?
The Ravens.
The Ravens.
Yeah. I mean, they got crushed by the Bengals, but I think either of these teams did. They only lost by 1 to the Packers.
Yep.
They lost to the Browns, who the Steelers just beat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they lost to the Steelers not that long ago, but only by 1 point.
Mm-hmm. And that game was in Pittsburgh. This game's in Baltimore. Not that really matters anymore.
It does a little bit, only because Pittsburgh is really good at home and horrible on the road this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean,
yeah.
But who's starting a quarterback though? It's not Lamar Jackson, right?
It's not.
it's Lamar Jackson Jr.
Is it Hundley or is Josh Johnson starting?
No, it's Hundley.
It's Hundley. Yeah. So Hundley is Lamar Jackson 2.0.
So does Pittsburgh have the goods to? Yeah, but he doesn't have the experience.
Pittsburgh's just.
Does Pittsburgh have enough defense to harass? What's his name? Todd Hundley.
Lamar
Todd
Jr.
Hundley, yeah.
Does he have? Do they have enough to harass him enough to make him uncomfortable? And do they have enough to offense to go into Baltimore and win? One last hurrah for Big Ben, maybe.
Well, that's it. That's what it comes down to.
I mean, look, the Steelers are 2-5 away. The Ravens are 5-3 at home. So it's not like they're, if this was in Pittsburgh, I would feel, because the Steelers are 6-2-1 at home.
Right.
I feel a little bit more.
I'm taking the Ravens. There, I said it first.
Yeah.
I'm just back and forth.
It's a tough call.
I
don't like either of these teams.
The team, the Steelers getting up for, Ben's potential last game period.
Yeah, I mean, one more time to go to the playoffs. They're certainly, they're realistically not a team that's going to.
Not going to go anywhere, but.
No, but still.
I don't
It
know.
would be Pittsburgh-esque to
It'd be
win
very
this game.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, does anybody want to take them?
No, I got to take the Ravens.
All right, you want me to flip the coin first?
Yeah, flip the coin.
All right.
This is the toughest pick.
It's tough. Coin likes the Pittsburgh Steelers in an upset victory away.
There you go.
So,
What do you think, Harry?
Will Harry
Join the coin?
join the coin for a second time this week?
I think
Two picks in a row.
I think it would be great to see the Steelers after this weird year that they've had make it into the playoffs. These are two teams that just I can't get a grip on either of them. I'm going to go with the Ravens.
Mm. Okay. So coins on the island. And then lastly but not leastly.
Oh, we got two games.
Actually, we got two more?
Yeah.
Oh, what was the other one? Well, anyway.
San Francisco and the Rams and Seattle and Arizona.
Oh, I deleted that by accident.
There you go.
Seattle was visiting who?
Arizona.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right, but first we got San Francisco visiting the LA Raiders. I mean, the LA Rams.
Rams are winning the game.
Rams are going to win this one, right?
Yeah.
Right, the Rams have to win this.
Oh,
Although the Rams, they didn't so much win that last game as it was given to them, I feel. But they did execute down the end, and that, I don't know, that
It's going to be a good game.
Says something to me about them.
It's going to be a good game. Debo's going to have another good game for San Francisco. But
I just think there's too much talent on this Rams team.
Yeah, there is. There's a lot at stake too. It's just like Cooper Kupp trying to get his yards.
Yeah, and they're really motivated.
They're very motivated.
But they just
talking about them
barely beat the Ravens, right?
Yeah, it was a close game. So
Jimmy G playing for San Francisco?
Just enough to win.
Jimmy's in practice. He returned. Doesn't know if he's going to play it or not.
Yeah. Right.
I'm going to go with the Rams. I just don't have much faith in the 49ers.
Let's see what the coin says. Coin likes the San Francisco 49ers.
There you go.
Yeah, so much for another good week for the coin. And finally, the Water Chickens visiting the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Exactly.
Randy Johnson's going to start at
The Mariners playing the Diamondbacks.
This is in Arizona, correct?
Yes. I'll start. Arizona will win the game.
Yeah, I got to agree. Although I don't think there is
Seattle actually looked like Seattle finally last Sunday.
Well,
but I don't.
In the snow.
In the snow, yeah. Maybe that helped. It's not really any snow in the desert.
Against the Lions.
This is true too.
Yeah, I like the Cardinals.
Well, you need a get-right game, right? You need a get-right game.
Yeah,
so.
I think you're right. And the Cardinals, even in the games that they've lost, I don't know. They haven't looked as bad. And they beat a pretty good Cowboys team, but they lost to the Colts. They lost to the Lions.
Yep.
They lost. I mean, they're just coming up. They're just unpredictable. But I think Arizona's got to win this to save their season. So I'm gonna go with Arizona.
There you go.
I concur.
All right.
So Arizona and the coin likes the Seattle Seahawks.
There you go.
Seattle Kraken.
Touch the coin, just like sweep everything.
Yeah, there we go.
The coin had its day last week.
It did.
So Harry's got a let's see, we got one difference.
What did I take?
The Chargers.
The Chargers. Yeah.
So it's a chance to make up a game.
There you go. So that's
I
true.
think John, you and I are in complete lockstep.
I think we are in lockstep. Yeah.
I will say this: if Pittsburgh wins that game, I'll be pretty happy for if they win and get into the playoffs. I think it'll be a good feel-good story.
Agreed. So,
I will hate them even more.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there you go. That's beaten by the coin for this week. Cool. All right. Let's take this banner off here. There we go. All right. But that should bring us to our top 10 list.
Top 10 list.
Our top 10 list for this week. Our top 10 list for this week is, if my garb did not give it away, would be the top 10 Baltimore/Indianapolis Colts of all time. Top 10 Baltimore/Indianapolis Colts of all time. Couldn't be one or the other because there's both on this list. So there you go. And in true Get On With It sports podcast fashion, we have 12, which we haven't had for a couple weeks now. We've been
had
pretty
a couple
good.
weeks. We had 10.
We had 10,
2 weeks
solid
in a
10,
row.
2 weeks in a row. Yeah, absolutely. So, but we'll kick it off with number 10. We only have one. We have a tie at 9 and a tie at 7. So we'll kick it off obviously with 10, and 10 is going to be Mr. Jeff Saturday. Jeffrey Bryant Saturday. What a name, Jeffrey Bryant Saturday. Center out of North Carolina, undrafted in 1998 by went to the Baltimore Ravens. Was on the practice squad, and that was it. And then he went to the Colts the next year and played for 13 seasons on the Colts, 99 through 2011. And then he played for a year with the Packers before he retired. Super Bowl champion in Super Bowl 41, 6-time Pro Bowler, 2-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro, NFL Alumni Offensive Lineman of the Year, and he's Indianapolis Colts Ring of Honor as well. Jeffrey Bryant Saturday, number 10 on our list tonight. Right. That brings us to number 9. First of our two tied at number 9 would be Mr. Art Donovan. Arthur James Donovan Jr., the Bulldog, defensive tackle out of Boston College, drafted in the 22nd round of the 1947 draft. They went high rounds back in the day. Drafted by the Baltimore Colts. And then he played for a year he played for a year with the Colts, played for a year with the New York Yanks. Then he played for a year with the Dallas Texans. Both of those teams do not exist anymore, obviously. And then he went back to the Colts in 1953 and played 8 or 9 seasons on the Colts then. 2-time NFL champion, 58 and 59, 5-time Pro Bowler, 4-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro. Member of the 50s All-Decade team. His number 70 is retired in the Indianapolis Colts, and he's in the Baltimore Ravens Ring of Honor. We talked about that before. A lot of Baltimore Colts, because of their connection to the city of Baltimore, are in the Baltimore Ravens Ring of Honor, which I find interesting. But anyway, they are. And his Boston College Eagles jersey's retired as well, by the way. And he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Arthur James Donovan Jr., number 9, tied for number 9 on our list. Also, number 9, tied for number 9, is Edgerrin James. Edgerrin Tyree James, running back out of Miami, drafted in the first round with the 4th pick overall in the 99 draft by the Colts. Played for 7 seasons with the Colts. And then went and played a few years in Arizona and then finished up with a year in Seattle. Offensive Rookie of the Year in 99, first-team All-Pro in 99, 2-time second-team All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler, 2-time NFL rushing yards leader, member of the 2000s All-Decade team, and he's in the Colts Ring of Honor as well. And he is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Number 9, tied, Edgerrin James. All right, that brings us to number 8. Number 8 is Mr. John Mackey. He's been on lists a couple times before. John Mackey, tight end, no middle name, as a matter of fact. Tight end.
Is that true? No,
John Mackey.
no middle name. Yeah.
No middle name given here. So
okay.
whether he has one and it's not listed, I could not tell you. But anyway, John Mackey, tight end, drafted out of Syracuse in the second round of the 1963 draft by the Colts. Played for 9 seasons with the Colts. And then he played for a year with the Chargers as well. Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl 5, NFL champion in 68. Excuse me. 3-time first-team All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler. Member of the 60s All-Decade team, the 50th anniversary team, and the 100th anniversary team. He's in the Baltimore Ravens Ring of Honor, and he is in Canton, Ohio in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Number 8, John Mackey. Guys got anything to say about Mr. Mackey?
One of the best. I feel like I know more about John Mackey from doing this podcast. I feel like his name, like you said,
right?
Just keeps popping up on
Many times, yeah.
all-time lists. One of the things when you're looking at this list, this team has such a history, and they were so successful during the 50s and 60s that there's a lot of players from that era. I mean, we could have easily had 10 or 15 just from that era. And he's certainly one of those guys who I think did he play his entire career with the Colts?
He had spent 1 year in San Diego.
That's what it was
at the end of his career.
I mean, which separates him, I think, a little bit, since the fact that he's a Colt, that's for sure.
So there you go. And whatchamacallit? So and he passed away at the age of 69 about 10 years ago. A little over 10 years ago, from problems with dementia. And he's actually one of the reasons that the NFL Players Association created the 88 plan, which obviously provides financial support to ex-players that require living assistance in their later years. So there you go. So number 8, John Mackey. All right, that brings us to number 7. Number 7 is Mr. Dwight Freeney. Dwight Jason Freeney. Defensive end and outside linebacker out of Syracuse, drafted in the first round with the 11th pick in the 2002 draft by the Colts, played 11 seasons with the Colts. And then he went to the Chargers for a couple years and bounced around the Cardinals for a year, the Falcons for a year, the Seahawks for a year, and finished up with the Lions for a year. But obviously his main years were 11 seasons with the Indianapolis Colts. Super Bowl champion in Super Bowl 41, 3-time first-team All-Pro, 1-time second-team All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, sacks leader in 04, forced fumbles co-leader in 02. Member of the 2000s All-Decade team. He's in the Colts Ring of Honor. And there you have it. Mr. Dwight Jason Freeney, number 7. Tied for number 7 on our list tonight. Also tied for number 7 on our list this evening is Mr. Lenny Moore. Leonard Edward Moore. A halfback and a wide receiver out of Penn State, drafted in the first round with the 9th pick in 1956 by the Colts. And he played 12 seasons with the Colts. That was his entire career. 2-time NFL champion, 7-time Pro Bowler, 5-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro. NFL MVP in 1964, comeback player of the year in 64, rookie of the year in 56, rushing touchdowns leader in 64. Member of the 50s All-Decade team, the 100th anniversary team. His number 24 is retired by the Colts. He's in the Ravens Ring of Honor. and he is in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Tied for number 7, Mr. Lenny Moore.
He was pretty good. That's not a name that probably crosses too many people's lips when you think about it.
No, not so much. Yeah, absolutely.
Can I just read one thing about him?
Go for it.
Because I kind of knew his name, but really didn't know that much about him, I have to admit. So, Marvin Harrison, 2002, 145 touches, 1,732 yards, 11 touchdowns, 11.9 yards per touch. Mm-hmm. Some of those are record-setting.
Sure.
Lenny Moore, 1958, 132 touches, 1,536 yards, 14 touchdowns, 11.6 yards per touch. Mm-hmm. I don't know who else was doing that in the late 50s. Not too many guys.
Not too many guys. No. Not too many guys.
I mean, those are respectable numbers. Not only in 2002, but today, even with today's passing game, a 1,500-yard season with 14 touchdowns is pretty damn good. And this guy was doing it 40, 50, 60 some odd years ago.
60 some odd years ago. Yeah, absolutely.
So Lenny Moore, pretty goddamn good.
Yeah. And Mr. Sevens tonight, Dwight Freeney and Lenny Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Sevens.
Mr. Sevens.
Mr. Sevens tonight. There you go. All right. That'll bring us to number 6. Number 6 is Mr. Raymond Berry. Ray Berry. Raymond Emmett Berry, Jr., to be exact. He's a split end, not the group. Actually,
I got you.
That's all I want. Split end out of SMU, drafted in the 20th round of the 1954 draft by the Colts. Spent 13 seasons with the Baltimore Colts. And then he got into coaching. He actually coached on the Cowboys, the Lions, the Browns, the Patriots, back to the Lions, and finished up with the Broncos. 2-time NFL champion, 3-time first-team All-Pro, 3-time second-team All-Pro, 6-time Pro Bowler, 3-time NFL receiving yards leader, 3-time NFL receptions leader, 2-time NFL receiving touchdowns leader. Remember the 50s All-Decade team, the 75th anniversary team, the 100th anniversary team. He's in the Ravens Ring of Honor. His number 82 is retired by the Colts, and he is in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Mr. Raymond Berry, number 6. That brings us to number 5. Number 5 is going to be Mr. Jim Parker. James Thomas Parker, to be exact. Offensive tackle and guard out of Ohio State, drafted in the first round with the 8th pick overall in 1957 by the Colts. And he spent 12 seasons on the Colts. 2-time NFL champion, 58 and 59. 9-time first-team All-Pro, 1-time second-team All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler. Remember the 50th anniversary team, the 75th anniversary team, the 100th anniversary team. His number 77 is retired by the Colts. He's in the Ravens Ring of Honor, and he is in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Number 5, Mr. Jim Parker. All right, that brings us to number 4. Number 4 is going to be Mr. Marvin Harrison, hence my jersey tonight. Marvin Darnell Harrison, wide receiver out of Syracuse, drafted in the first round with the 19th pick in 1996. Spent 14 seasons? 13,
a lot.
12, 13 seasons. A lot of seasons. 13 seasons with the Colts. That was his career. Super Bowl champion in Super Bowl 41. There we go. 3-time first-team All-Pro, 5-time second-team All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler, 2-time NFL receiving yards leader, 2-time NFL receptions leader, NFL receiving touchdowns co-leader in 05. Remember the 2000s All-Decade team, 100th anniversary team. He's in the Indianapolis Colts Ring of Honor. Finished his career with 14,580 receiving yards and 128 receiving touchdowns. And I believe he's still to this day part of the biggest connection, if you will, between quarterback and wide receiver, between him and Peyton Manning. So number 4 on our list tonight, Mr. Marvin Darnell Harrison. There you go. Guys have anything on Mr. Harrison?
It's pretty damn good.
Yeah, he was. There's certain players on certain teams, and those years, even though the Colts didn't win a lot of Super Bowls, they were just such a good team. And when you needed a miracle, you go, well, he'll just throw it to Harrison, and he'll make some ridiculous play. And that's exactly what happened over and over and over again.
Every time. Yep.
Yeah, it was just, you could count on him to do something that was seemingly impossible, or certainly a low percentage play, they might call it these days.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And it wasn't just throwing it up and letting him jump over a shorter D-back or anything. He just made catches behind his back, underneath his leg. Just ridiculous.
Mhm.
Ridiculous
Yeah,
catches and an ability to get open. You go, this is the number one guy, one of the best guys in the league. How can he get open? But he did.
He held the record for most receptions in a single season, 143, for over 10 years before it was broken by Michael Thomas with 149 a couple of years ago, 2019. So.
Well, there you go.
All right. So number 4 on our list tonight, Mr. Marvin Harrison. All right. Excuse me. That brings us to number 3. Number 3 tonight is Mr. Gino Marchetti. John Marchetti, to be exact. Defensive end and offensive tackle. Out of San Francisco, drafted in the second round of the 52 draft by the Dallas Texans. Spent a year there, and then he went to the Colts and was on the Colts for the better part of 15 seasons. Excuse me. 2-time NFL champion, 9-time first-team All-Pro, 1-time second-team All-Pro, 11-time Pro Bowler. 11 years straight from 54 to 64. Crazy. And then a member of the, NFL sacks leader in 1960. And that's one thing that when I saw that, I'm like, how is he the sacks leader if they didn't start counting sacks until 1982? So that had to be one of those unofficial records. But anyway, regardless, he was the sacks leader in 60. NFL 1950s All-Decade team, the 50th anniversary team, the 75th anniversary team, and the 100th anniversary team.
There you go.
He's in the Baltimore Ravens Ring of Honor, and his Indianapolis Colts number 89 is retired. And, of course, he is in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Number 3, Gino Marchetti. Brings us to the top 2. Who do you think they're going to be?
I bet they're both defensive backs.
Maybe
they're both punters.
They're both punters.
They're both punters.
Long history of great punters coming out of
in
the British sense of the word.
In the British sense of the word. There you go. All right. Number 2 on our list tonight, Mr. Johnny Unitas. Johnny U. John Constantine Unitas, to be exact. The Golden Arm. Johnny U and the Golden Arm. Those were both his nicknames. Quarterback out of Louisville, drafted in the 9th round of the 1955 draft by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Only sat on the practice squad or off season. Then they went to the Colts next year, and he was on the Colts for 16 seasons. And then he wound up with the Chargers for a year before he retired. Super Bowl champion in Super Bowl V, 3-time NFL champion, 58, 59, and 68. 3-time NFL, and 68, there was a Super Bowl there, but I think he lost that Super Bowl. But who was that to, Pete? Do you recall?
Oh, I believe it was the New York Oblong Spears.
Oblong Spears, right, exactly. There you go. Anyway, and he was only one of 2 quarterbacks to play for the Colts in that. More on that in old balls. We'll get to that. But anyway, 3-time NFL champion, 3-time NFL MVP, NFL Man of the Year in 1970, 5-time first-team All-Pro, 3-time second-team All-Pro, 10-time Pro Bowler, 4-time NFL passing yards leader, 4-time NFL passing touchdowns leader, 2-time NFL passer rating leader, NFL completion percentage leader in 67, member of the 60s All-Decade team, the 50th anniversary team, the 75th anniversary team, the 100th anniversary team, 3-time Burt Bell Award winner. His number 19 is retired by the Indianapolis Colts, and, of course, he is in Canton, Ohio, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Number 2, Mr. Johnny U, Johnny Unitas. And that brings us to number 1. Who might that be? Let's find out. Number 1 on our list tonight is Mr. Peyton Manning.
He sells insurance, doesn't he?
I heard that. I heard that.
Everybody's got to have something to fall back on in case sports doesn't work out.
I thought he was involved in something else too. I think he's on ESPN once in a while too, right? Was his brother?
Sure.
Yeah, they host a show where they watch TV together, and we watch them watching TV together.
And we watch them and they talk, and then exactly. So,
we don't watch the TV because I don't think you can do that, right?
You don't watch the TV. You don't watch their TV. They watch their TV.
I haven't watched it. Is the game on TV or it's just them watching?
It's
the game?
both. You get the game.
Oh, it is.
and you
Oh,
get
okay.
them. Oh no,
So
you get both. You get both.
right.
You get them. They're in like 2 boxes, and then the game's.
Oh,
over
okay.
here,
So it's an NFL product.
Yeah. It's like
okay.
an inset.
It's
kind
an
of thing,
ESPN jam, right?
pretty much, yeah. ESPN 2 or ESPN Plus or whatever it's on.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that. So. But Peyton Williams Manning, the sheriff, quarterback out of Tennessee, picked with the number 1 pick in the first round of the 1998 draft by the Indianapolis Colts. Spent 13 seasons with the Colts before going out to Denver and spending another 4 seasons out there. Went to 4 Super Bowls total, won 2 with each team, won 1 with each team. 2-time Super Bowl champion. Super Bowl MVP in Super Bowl 41. 5-time NFL Most Valuable Player. 5-time NFL's Most Valuable Player. 2-time NFL Offensive Player of the Year. NFL Comeback Player of the Year in 2012. Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year. 7-time First Team All-Pro. 3-time Second Team All-Pro. 14-time Pro Bowler. 3-time NFL Passer Ratings Leader. 2-time NFL Completion Percentage Leader. Member of the 2000s All-Decade Team, the 100th Anniversary Team. He's in the Colts Ring of Honor, and his number 18 is retired by the Colts. He's in the Denver Broncos Ring of Honor, and his number 18 is honored by the Broncos. Not necessarily retired, honored by the Broncos. And he won the Bart Starr Award in 2015, and the 3-time Burt Bell Award winner as well. And he was the Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year in 2013. And just this year was elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Number 1 on the list tonight, Mr. Peyton Manning, Eli's brother. There you go.
As he's most commonly known.
As he's more commonly known, yeah. So, guys have anything to say about Mr. Manning?
You know, he had a very impressive career, especially in the regular season. But what can you say? I mean, to be number 1 on this list for a franchise that's had a lot of really great players, I think that says it all.
I think it does. And he did send in, I wasn't able to get it up on the screen, but he did send in his thank you to us for putting him number 1 on the list.
He
tonight.
did. Good.
He did appreciate it. So.
Yeah, it's. I think one of my favorite Peyton moments was, I believe it was a Gatorade commercial.
Okay.
Where he's being interviewed, I think by Jordan at the Gatorade warehouse.
Okay.
And he says, "What are your qualifications?" And Peyton goes, "I was the number 1 draft in the number 1 pick in the NFL draft." And Jordan goes, "Can you drive a forklift?" And he's got his uniform on. He's got a football in his hand. He just kind of goes, he sort of looks down and nods, yeah. And he can't drive a forklift.
Right.
And then I think there's a later commercial, or maybe later on in that one, they would make him long and then break him into, he's like crashing the forklift. But just, we know he's certainly one of the more telegenic and photogenic quarterbacks and stuff. And
sure.
Had stints on doing commercials and Saturday Night Live and all that. But this was right early in his career, and it was a funny moment. And I went, well, I hope he's a good player because I like that guy.
Well, the one stint when he was on SNL, when he was going out with the kids, and then he starts throwing the football at him, and it hits them like
that is one of the funniest.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
So it just seems like a good guy.
Yeah. There you go. Agreed. All right. That brings us to this week's Old Balls. All right.
Does it? Are you sure?
Well, that's what I heard. I think let's try it again.
That brings us to
this week's Old Balls. Old Balls. That's much better. All right. There we go. Harry, why don't you tell us who this week's Old Balls recipient is?
This week's recipient of the Old Balls Award is none other than Mr. Earl Morrall. Earl Morrall?
Morrall, yeah.
Morrall. Look, I think the one thing you could say about Earl Morrall is he's probably the best backup quarterback in the history of the NFL.
You would think, yeah.
Kind of an interesting career. He was a quarterback, an occasional punter, played for 21 seasons, both as a starter and a reserve, and became known as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, backup quarterback in NFL history, serving as a backup for none other than Mr. Johnny Unitas and Bob Greasy.
Yep.
He is he's known for helping the Colts win Super Bowl V and the Dolphins win Super Bowl 7, having come off the bench in both those games to help win them. He also, played big parts in both the Dolphins and Colts seasons, filling in for these guys. He was a 4-time champion, 3-time Super Bowl champion, 1-time NFL champion. He's an NFL most valuable player in 1968, 2-time All-Pro, 2-time Pro Bowler. Just a really interesting career. 161 touchdowns, 148 interceptions, over 20,000 passing yards, and a passer rating of 74.1. I think he just, obviously playing on 2 really high-profile teams behind, at the time, probably the most high-profile quarterback in the NFL in Johnny Unitas, and then obviously Bob Greasy. He was a big part of these teams, filling in for big chunks of time when both of them were hurt, and he was, I think, especially if you were watching the early days of the NFL and the AFL merger, he was kind of a household name, even though he was not necessarily the number 1 quarterback on either of those teams. So maybe known a little bit more. I don't know. I think he's equally known for his time with the Colts and the Dolphins.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
Also played for the Giants, the Lions, the Steelers, and the 49ers. Was kind of a, I don't even know who to compare him to, because there's no one that's had as much success as, let's call it, a backup quarterback. But you can't really even call him a backup quarterback, especially when he takes over for that position and wins the MVP award. I mean, think about that for a minute. I don't think that's ever happened before, has it?
No. I mean, he got the Colts to
right
the championship,
right,
and won the championship in '68, right, and obviously was part and parcel with losing to the Jets,
right,
in the Super Bowl. But Johnny Unitas came into that game too, so they
at the very end. So he was kind of pulled.
He was pulled, yeah.
And then
but 2 years later,
the Dolphins beat the Cowboys, and he beat Craig Morton. I mean,
Colts beat the Cowboys.
Colts beat the Cowboys. That's what I mean. So he's in the early Super Bowl years. He's one of these names who's synonymous with a lot of these games, having been a big part of 2 teams that were a big part of the early days of the Super Bowl, and even prior to that.
And the undefeated season for Miami. I mean, it was a 14-game season, and he started and won 11 of them.
Right.
So, I mean, Bob Greasy started 3 of them before he got hurt.
Right.
And there you go. So,
hell of an athlete, a consensus All-American back in 1955, and kind of a journeyman who happened to be a really, really good quarterback when you needed him. 4-time champion, could have been a 5-time champion, right?
Yep.
That's pretty impressive when you think about it. I don't think there's anybody you can quite compare him to in the history of the game. I really
can't. He was the first quarterback to actually help lead 2 different franchises to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Think about it.
And look, maybe his biggest impact on football was he was the quarterback coach at the University of Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And he worked with Jim Kelly, Bernie Kosar, Vinny Testaverde, and Mark Wright while he was there.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, kind of an interesting guy, and
he was mayor too at one point, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was another guy who had some brain injuries, that was revealed upon his death when I think he died when he was 79 or 80 years old, but he had, chronic trauma to his brain that was examined.
They found out CTE.
Yeah. So he's one of those guys who I think is just a really interesting person in the history of the game. There's no one else that's quite had a career like him.
This is true.
Earl Morrall.
This week's old balls. All right. So, what do you think? Should we discuss a little NBA? or you want to save it to next week?
Well, I mean, it's up to you guys.
We could talk some NBA. Why not?
Yeah.
Knicks won a couple, lost, and then won again.
The NBA is just schizophrenic. I mean, look, the 3 top teams in the West are really good. Chicago invested in the offseason, and lo and behold, they're pretty good. Miami invested in the offseason and seems to be coming on strong.
Sure.
I still think I still think the Nets are a better team than Chicago when it's all said and done. But I think Chicago's going to give them a run for their money in the East.
They are. They definitely will.
And don't count out the Sixers. Their record is not up there with the top teams, but I still think they're a move away from getting somebody to give a little help to Embiid. And at the end of the day, I still think that Utah and Phoenix are going to edge out the Warriors in the West. But I think it's a 3-team race in the West, just because there's so many injuries and so many teams that have been decimated out there. Memphis has been a big surprise. Charlotte playing good basketball right now, so it's interesting. The Cavaliers are playing good basketball. So and slowly but surely, Milwaukee is, after a little bit of a slow start, is right back where you would expect them to be. Right. And all of these teams are dealing with a lot of just instability, with barely being able. Some of these games had to be canceled just because they didn't have enough people to play in them.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Yeah, you kind of wonder how much, do we reach a point where, what do we do? We're going to just shut things down for a month, or, are we going to stop,
I think
cross-country travel with Canada, or, what do we do here?
I think that we are, from everything I've read, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but I think we're sort of going to see the height of this right now. I think, a month from now, we're going to be dealing with
down a little bit,
coming down quite a bit. Yeah. And I don't think they're going to stop anything. I don't think they're going to delay anything. I don't think they're going to put people back in the bubble. I think they would have already have done that. Mm-hmm. You might have some makeup games. You might have some games that are canceled. Honestly, I'd rather see games canceled and made up when everybody's potentially at full strength than penalizing teams because of COVID protocols.
Agreed.
And
I agree with that.
I'm okay with that. As far as the Knicks go, you could see what Julius Randle means to this team. He came back. They had a good game. They won. There's a couple teams in the East that are head scratchers right now, and I think the Knicks should be slightly better than what their record says. I think the Indiana Pacers are a team that I'm waiting for them to turn the corner a little bit. And obviously the Atlanta Hawks, just not what they were last year. I think the Knicks and Hawks have come back down to earth. And there's, 7 through 10 right now in the East. There's a bunch of teams hovering around 500, which I just think are.
Yeah, I mean, the
just
Knicks
are not as good as the top 5.
The Knicks are in 11th right now, and right. in 3 or 4 days they could be in 7th.
Well, they have the same record as Boston. They're just, yeah. I think division,
right.
Record, and I'll include Memphis in the West, but in all honesty, it's a 3-team race out there, and Golden State and Phoenix are off to a really hot start, but do not count. I think in the long haul, I think Utah, at least in the regular season, is the most consistent team,
right? And
that's going to be a hell of a playoffs in the West.
It's going to be interesting.
Dallas is starting to come on a little bit. I don't know how the Nuggets are 6-4 in their last 10 games. If that doesn't give, any credit or doubt any of the doubts about Jokic. I mean, he's basically playing by himself.
He is.
He's playing by himself.
He is.
And, I mean, you could say, here we go, but because he plays in Denver, he's severely underrated.
Yes.
He is. No, agreed on that. Absolutely.
It's certainly not because of the lack of effort on this podcast
to
raise his profile.
I mean, I think I talk about him more than anybody else.
Probably
more than anybody else. What did you say? Anybody else in
all Denver? Of media and in Denver?
In all of media, yeah, certainly in Denver.
There's they don't talk about him because all they talk about is how horrible or how holding out hope for Drew Lock or whatever. It's a Broncos town.
Right.
Listen, we're at 35, 36 games now, so pretty close to the midpoint of the season.
We're getting there.
And I mean, obviously there are some things that have become clear, but there's a lot that could change over the rest of this season, of course. I mean, that's always true, but there's not certainly in the East, there's not the 2 or 3 and then everyone else. And what order is everyone else going to be in?
I think in the East, it's I think there's 5 or 6 teams that are, at the top. I do think Brooklyn and Chicago seem to be, and maybe Miami will get there. And look, the Nets tonight started off slow, but they came back and beat the Pacers, and Kyrie Irving, 22 points, 4 assists, 3 steals, a block, and only 2 turnovers, plus 16 in his return. So, Durant had 39, James Harden had 18. And they mixed their lineup up. They started Claxton and Duke, and they brought Griffin and Aldridge and Patty Mills off the bench.
Sure.
So we'll see.
It's going to be a very interesting balancing act.
It's going to be. Yeah.
I think for this, I think Miami, Chicago, and Brooklyn have enough talent for them to give the Nets a challenge. I think the Sixers need to make a move to obviously replace their point guard situation. And if they can do that, if it's the right fit, I think they're going to be a tough team to beat. And Joel Embiid's having a great year, probably the best year of his career so far.
Yeah.
So,
if he can stay healthy.
Yeah. Well, that's always a big one.
We'll see how it shakes out. There's a lot of, we're approaching the halfway point of the season.
Yeah, we're not quite there.
No,
not too far.
7 or 8 games or whatever.
Yeah, so.
And I'll tell you, scoring is up this year. There's not one team in the NBA who's holding their opponents to under 100 points a game.
Right.
And that's what we like.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't want defensive battles.
You don't want to see
Yes, we do.
No, we don't. We want 112 to 110.
No.
131 to 126.
I think he's saying that tongue in cheek there.
Yeah. Speak for yourself.
Well, I mean,
112 is about the average of what everybody's scoring these days, at least at the top. So, who knows?
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on the NBA situation, obviously, and we will talk more about that. Obviously, much more in-depth conversations about the NBA after we get through the month of January into February, and the football season winds down with the or comes to a culmination with the Super Bowl, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A couple things on hockey. How about them Rangers?
How about them Rangers?
They're still playing in New York, huh?
Yeah, they're still playing in New York. One of the best teams, if not the best team in the league right now. I know the Lightning have 49 points, but the Rangers just beat them, back to back, home and home. Rangers are 48 points, but Florida has 48 points too. I mean, there's a lot of good teams right now. Capitals are playing for 48 points as well, but Rangers are playing, definitely very well.
Listen, they're 5-4-1 in their last 10.
Mm-hmm.
And, Washington has 6 wins in their last 10. Carolina's got 8 wins in their last 10. Pittsburgh's got 8 wins in their last 10. Tampa Bay is 6-3-1. So,
mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, they've won 3 in a row. I don't know. This is more about a statement of who they are, or they just happen to be on a hot streak right now.
Yeah, I think
it's more of a hot streak.
I think it's a hot streak, and I also think it's about who they are. I mean, Shesterkin's.
I mean, they're a good team. They're certainly a good team.
I mean, they're 1 point out of the top spot, so I mean, they've been fairly consistent,
right?
Which is 6. But the teams ahead of them are just slightly better in their last 10. So we'll see.
Yeah.
It's just starting to pan out a little bit.
It is a little bit. So, I don't think, and believe me, as a Rangers fan, I hope there's a cup in the near future, but I don't think that they're quite there this year. They're gonna do very well, but I don't think they're gonna get all the way. But that'd be great if they do. But we will. But they're there. I mean, give them another year or two. I think you'd be talking cup with the Rangers on a regular basis. So.
I think
Screw them.
I think the Rangers and the Panthers have kind of crept back up. Of course, Tampa Bay and the Capitals are there as always, and Toronto's in the Penguins and the Bruins are in the hunt there. So it's not that different than what it was, other than the Rangers, I think, and the Islanders kind of calling off. Columbus and the Islanders have really taken a pretty big job.
Islanders are a freaking nosedive.
Yeah, and then of course Vegas, whatever's going on there, they've lost their last two, but man, there are last couple of years they've been one of the more consistent franchises in hockey. That's for sure.
I mean, Seattle's on par with the Islanders right now. It's just crazy to think that, but
the Islanders don't have quite as many losses, but they're tied in wins.
This is true.
And the Kraken only have 2 less points. So
this is true. So, all right. Well, there you have it. All right. That'll be hockey talk for the evening. A couple things before we go. Do we have an over/under tonight?
I do not. As you may be able to see a little bit, this room is an absolute mess right now.
That's when you have your best over/unders, though.
Yeah, I know, but unfortunately, there's too much stuff to wade through in order to count anything.
Gotcha.
what is the over/under of you actually tripping on something and being trapped under some of those boxes for 3 or 4 hours?
Half.
Yeah.
It's actually, I can see him
Vegas
actually
has it
doing the
even.
podcast with the mic down next to him, and then every once in a while he just reaches up his hand to show us where he is.
Yeah.
There you go.
Still here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see. I have this box of wires.
There you're going to say, I have this box of wine.
have a
I have this box of wires here,
box of wine. Good box of wine.
Nothing wrong with a box of wine.
and there's just miles and miles of cables and stuff in there.
Yeah, why would you even save any of it? Why don't you just
some of it is
donate it to your...
Some of it is just coaxial cable, and there's a couple of converter wires in there that I have occasionally needed to dig through the box to find
There you go.
to use for certain things. So, but most of it could be just, there's like 15-pin printer cables in there, and but
current needed stuff, right?
yeah. So I'm hoping to go through that and keep only the stuff that is actually useful and get rid of it, and then I'll be able to break down all the rest of the boxes. And then that might be the next over/under is how many broken down boxes.
As long as nobody steals your stapler.
Yeah, you don't want that.
No, I got 2 of them, so
you're good to go.
That could have been the over/under.
My swing line. Where's my stapler?
This is
Both swing line.
This is the Bostitch.
That's what it is.
Bostitch and a
Made
swing
by
line.
Stanley.
You do look like you're in the office that they sent. What's his name from Office Space?
Yeah, I could be. Yeah, I've got the shelves behind me.
Right, exactly.
If these were concrete walls, and this room is.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, because we had a quick story. We had some friends over on the 23rd.
Okay.
No, excuse me, that's the 23rd. The 30th.
Okay.
I think.
Thursday. One of those 2 days.
Whatever. It was not
somewhere between the 23rd and the 30th.
It was Thursday. So it was not New Year's Eve. It was the night before New Year's Eve.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the people we had over said they used to get together on that night every year. It was a family tradition, and they called it Old Year's Eve. And it was the last night of the sort of, not technically the last night of the old year, but they would say goodbye to the old year, and then the next night was the 31st, and they would ring in the new year.
Right.
So we're like, we're starting a new tradition, or revamping an old tradition they used to have. The thing was, I had about 20 hours notice that this was happening, and the house was a nightmare because it was Christmas, and it was already a nightmare before Christmas. It's not like it was clean, and then we had Christmas. And then
Nightmare Before Christmas, right?
it wasn't like it was clean, and then Christmas came, and now there's packages and stuff. It was a mess before that.
Right.
So it was a bit of a frantic scramble to get everything clean and straightened up and neatened and cleaned and then cleaned and then cleaned. So like that, my son was going up and down the stairs. He would come to the bottom of the stairs, and I would hand him a box or a tray of stuff, and I would go put this on my bed. And he would just take this stuff upstairs and deposit it on my bed, or go put this on the floor in your mother's room, and
things have been displaced in
so things have been displaced.
Attempt to get a quarter of the house clean.
Right.
Yeah. So basically, every time I sit in this chair, I have to move that box of wires, and then there's another box which has a different type of wire, and then I can sit down, and then when I want to go to sleep again, I have to move it back onto the chair so that I can go to sleep.
I'm going to guess that there is nothing in either of those boxes of wires that you need.
Probably not.
Need is really the definition of need.
It's a relative term.
I don't think you need it, or it sparks joy. I think Maria Kondo would have you throwing that out to the recycle bin in 2 seconds.
Well,
let's ask her. Maria, does it spark joy in
No, it might spark a fire, but it's definitely not sparking joy.
Well, here's the thing. Inside that box, like if I reach into that box and lift it up, like a whole huge thing of wires will come up. They're all super tangled.
Make it a sculpture.
And within that ball of tangled wires, that oblong Jets logo shaped tangled wires, is like
Barbie dolls?
An old phone.
Oh,
like a phone with a handset and buttons.
Like I said, there's nothing in that box that you
need. No, there isn't. But there's just like all sorts of things are trapped within the wires themselves, and it's going to take either a lot of cutting or hours and hours of detangling.
I think if you bring it to Goodwill, they would be happy to detangle it for you.
I mean, there's probably 200 feet of phone wire in there, and you never know when you're going to need a nice piece of phone wire.
You never know.
Said no one since 1997.
I know. I think my phone wire crimpers are also in that box.
Do you even have a landline?
Well, it runs on the internet, but yes.
Yeah, okay.
We do have a.
You still need a phone wire for it, Still need that. Was it R14 or whatever?
But no, I mean nobody uses it.
Right.
But somewhere in that box, also like in that box, is like the old Coleco basketball game.
Oh, that's worth fishing out.
Yeah, that's so I have to go through it because I know there's one or two things in there
that are going to be you want to keep.
And honestly, when I want to sell my old Okidata printer, which is a nice printer, we just haven't used it in years. I do have the 15-pin to like the 9-pin converter cable that's in there. I want to be able to give that to the person who takes the old.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Welcome to Staples behind the scenes.
I have my own Staples store, and that's my original.
You own it?
Well, I have
pretty much.
I have the inventory. I just have the inventory.
I got you.
So my one thought was
put on a red shirt.
I would get a lot of those little hooks and just cover the wall with little hooks, and then start wrapping up the wires and hanging that one there and that one there. And that way, I could at least see what I have. But
wow,
there you go.
I've got a few other things to do first before the box of wires.
You need help. You need to go in there with some wire cutters, get that ColecoVision game out of there, and that's it.
Yeah, that's.
Make sure you don't have a child you're not aware of that's living in the box.
That's probably the best.
Gotcha.
Probably the best solution.
Oh yeah. All right. Couple of things, and then we'll get going. You mentioned it before, Harry. One of you did. The Washington football team on February 2nd will announce their new name and have an unveiling of their new logo.
I'm waiting with bated breath.
Yeah. And they did make an announcement that the Wolves and Red Wolves names are not in the mix because of trademarks for other teams. So they will not be a part of it. So that's that. Number two, as we announced last week, unfortunately, excuse me, Mr. John Madden had passed away just before or just on New Year's Day, I believe it was. Mr. Dan Reeves passed away as well. Former Broncos, Giants, and
Cowboys.
Broncos, Giants, and Falcons head coach, and Cowboys coach and player. Yeah, and I actually had the pleasure of speaking with the man once when he was the Giants head coach, and great guy. Just a nice conversation with him. Good, very, very down-to-earth guy. Very nice guy. But
what were you, like 14? 10?
No. He was a Giants coach in the 90s.
Was he?
Yeah.
All right. So you were like 20.
Mid-20s when I talked to him, yeah.
Okay.
But,
Well, I don't know if he was a fan, but he would have loved this podcast, obviously, with
He
the
would
the
have.
Giants and the Denver connection. And,
There
That's
you go.
right.
and
Absolutely.
the Cowboys connection for that matter.
That's right.
For that
We
matter,
had
there
him
you go.
covered. Dan Reeves should have been on this show.
That's
We
right.
covered him. So,
He was probably busy, though.
but yeah, so, best to his family, and rest in peace, Mr. Reeves. And be remiss to not to point out, Ms. Betty White as well. 18 days before her 100th birthday.
Well, she lived through, I think somebody said 18 leap years. So technically, I think she made it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Somebody actually said that?
Yep.
There you go. All right. Yeah. If it wasn't for leap year, she would have gotten there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, no, it would have been more than that.
Well, 18 would have been an extra day for 18, so that's the 18.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, she definitely would. She would have gone past 100 because she was 99, right? So there's a leap year every 4 years. So
Yeah.
That's true.
she should have had somewhere between 20 and
19 or 20, yeah.
20 or 24, right?
Yeah,
Depending
so-
on.
Well, the first one doesn't happen. Maybe it didn't hit exactly.
On that,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think
Have to
there was
go back
two.
and figure it out. But
She was 3 years off the leap year. She would have missed one. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Right. That's what I mean. Even if the first leap year during her life was 3 years after her birth,
Anyway.
Right.
she still would have had more than 18.
Gotcha.
So
anyway, but yeah, so rest in peace, Ms. Betty White as well. But also did want to bring up Harry. You want to bring up the show one more time?
Oh yeah, we should have done this at the beginning when the two people were listening. Yeah,
you go.
my
Goes on
band
the screen
Log
right
will be playing this Saturday at a venue called HQ, which is at 60 South Broadway in Denver. Unfortunately, one of the opening acts had to drop out, so it's Log with the big lid. Go on at 10:30. You can.
Nana Monkey's not going to be there.
No Anana Monkey this time, but
I'm not going then.
we'll do a show with them again soon.
I'm not going then.
But anyway, come see Log. It's an experience, that's for sure.
And there's the Instagram.
Yes, it's actually, is that our Instagram? Okay. I thought it was Log Noise, but maybe that's
Is it Log Noise?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe. Okay, so
You'll find it, or nobody will, like most people don't. But yeah. There you go. This Saturday we go on at 10:30. Show starts at 9.
Is that better?
Yeah, I don't know.
There.
Check both of them. You
There.
find maybe we can actually put a link to the.
We'll
page
put it up
yeah.
on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
No one uses Instagram anymore.
Actually, I'm trying to get people off of fucking Facebook, but it's just if you're over the age of 35, you just can't get rid of that damn thing.
You can't. Yeah, it's hard. So.
I can't stand it. I hate it. Anyway,
All right.
there you go.
There you have it. All right. Well, on that note, we will wrap the show for today. We want to thank everybody for watching. And to those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.getonwithitpodcast.com. That's getonwithitpodcast.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media. It's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for the Get On With It podcast. And, of course, all of our shows are on YouTube as well on the Log Room channel. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night around 7:30 Eastern Time. And for those of you that just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, and iHeartRadio as well. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you will never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. Watch week 18, the first week of the NFL regular season ever. Check it all out, and we will talk to you next week, folks. Take care. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.